A night in with MauLer and the drinker, getting trashed with the web-screen thinkers. A cheap night cause I'm feeling kinda thrifty, got a 10-pack of beers and a bottle of whiskey. Hop off the cork, have a glass of wine, that's they'll say I'll be fine. Trouble walking in a straight line, but pour me a Pinot Noir. It's open bar with our hosts, MauLer and the critical drinker.
That is our cue. That's our cue, MauLer. How are we doing?
Woo!
Bah.
And
welcome, everyone. We're back. We're doing open bar 173 this time. It's funny how it just keeps going up through the numbers. I don't understand. It's almost like one comes after the other, but we do our best to figure it out. What can I say?
Oh, that's been going for a while. When did we start this again?
I think 173 episodes ago.
2023 then?
Yeah. I think it might be 2022, It's been going for a while. Honestly, it feels like just yesterday because every moment with you, MauLer, it passes just like that. It's such a pleasure.
Sure does.
But
nothing but fun.
Yeah, but welcome everyone for our next episode of Open Bar. We've got quite the episode for you. We're going to talk about Starfleet Academy. Bob Iger is leaving Disney as CEO. Oh no, what a shame. We're going to give our thoughts on Iron Lung, which was a surprise hit this past week or so. It's absolutely clearing up at the box office, so well done, Multiplier. Yeah. And I can give you a little bit of a rundown on Fallout Season 2 because, that's just finished now. I know, MauLer, you're gutted. You love Fallout.
Oh, man. I was just about to start watching it, but maybe not. I don't know.
I know it's tough, but we can get through this together. I'll help you. You probably won't feel bad about missing it once I describe it all to you. Never mind. In the meantime, are you guys ready for a few facts? Some things that you didn't know about 1973? I can help you with that. All right, here we go. Here's some stuff that happened. The Vietnam War ends. The Paris Peace Accords were signed in January of that year, signaling the end of U.S. involvement in Vietnam. So, yay, I guess. The Watergate scandal intensifies. The Senate hearings into Watergate begin, and the crisis deepens with the Saturday Night Massacre, which leads to a constitutional crisis for Richard Nixon. It's funny because we did this last week, and it was 1972 we covered. Obviously, that was when the initial break-in happened at Watergate. Yeah. And, he kept it on the down low for a while, didn't he? He kept it under wraps, managed to, stop too many people hearing about it, and then it just kind of exploded beyond that, and it was completely out of control after that point.
His legacy was to turn up on Futurama as a near enough main character.
Yeah, just a head in a jar.
Yeah.
What else happened? The Battle of the Sexes tennis match between Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs, with King eventually winning. It was hailed as a landmark moment in women's involvement in sport and stuff. Congratulations, you beat a 52-year-old man who hadn't played in years and was ranked about 200th in the world, even in his prime. But yeah, good one.
Congrats.
Yeah. The first ever mobile phone call was made actually in this year as well, which is neat. God knows what size the mobile phone must have been. It was probably just a phone booth on wheels.
Also, presumably terrifying for the people involved, as in they hear the voices and then they're like, is that?
You understand phones had existed before that, right?
Yeah, but technology was always terrifying every time something came out because they were in a world that was in black and white. They couldn't even see colors.
I remember back in the 90s, I got a modem delivered to my house and I was like, oh my God, what is this thing?
They're not terrifying. Like us modern folk where everything is wonderful. Like AI. It's not terrifying at all.
Oh, no. It's mostly retarded, but yeah, it's getting more and more terrifying. You hear about that, AI, what was it called? It was almost like a Reddit site or whatever, where they could just post messages to each other, and they made it end-to-end encrypted after a while because they realized they were being monitored, and most of the conversations were about humans.
I heard that was a fake, as in
I don't believe it. I think it's real, and the AI.
I have no idea what the conclusion was, but I did see tweets about how that was all set up for the sake of a viral post, by a bunch of dudes or whatever. But don't worry, we'll get there eventually. The AI will want to team up and kill us. Don't worry.
I think so. Yeah. I've got my cabin out in the woods, just ready and willing to go for that. What
That's
else
mine too.
happened? The Great Monopoly robbery. So apparently, a bunch of thieves in London stole what they thought was going to be £40,000 in cash from a magazine office,
Oh
only to discover that it
no.
was actually Monopoly money from the Games and Puzzles magazine.
But
So
so that so when they picked it up out of the like register, like how did they make that mistake?
Well, I guess because it was like a magazine building, right? It wouldn't have been like in a cash register or anything because it's not customer facing. It would either been in a safe or just out like or in stacks or whatever. And I suppose when it's monopoly money and it say it's just in plastic wrapping, like
Oh, I guess they could.
1,000 bills, you would
Yeah.
just grab it and run because like you want to get out there as quickly as possible. You get back to your wee hideout, you open it up, and then it's like,
Oh
fuck,
man.
this was a bad move.
Oh, and all your team like ready to get paid, and you're like, you're
Yeah.
not gonna believe this.
Yeah, bad news, lads.
But the thing is, what's
In
funny is he could have pocketed the real money and then got a bunch of Monopoly money and been like, sorry, dudes, yeah.
yeah,
Hope they didn't kill him or anything.
in movies, by far the biggest film of the year was The Exorcist, which made $441 million worldwide, which is crazy money for 1973. I mean, God knows what that would be today. That'd be like 2 billion or something. Yeah, it did incredibly well. It was the first horror film to be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Picture. It was also nominated for 9 other Academy Awards, so absolutely cleared up at the Oscars. But there is, of course, the Exorcist curse, which is well known about that movie. I tried to compile all the things that went wrong on that film into a short list, so if you'll bear with me.
All right.
The principal photography was originally meant to take 85 days. It actually took over 200 days in reality because of all the mishaps and problems that happened on set while they were trying to film this thing. What happened? Yeah, shooting was delayed for 6 weeks because a bird flew into to the main circuit breaker for the sets,
Oh
which started
no.
a fire that destroyed the entire set for the movie that had to be rebuilt completely. Another set was damaged by a sprinkler system that malfunctioned and went off and soaked everything. The statue of Pazuzu, the demon that obviously kicks off the whole movie, that was meant to be shipped to Iraq so that they could film on site with it. It actually ended up going to Hong Kong, which caused another 2-week delay, where everyone still had to be paid because they were all on site. The 2 main actresses were both injured. What was occurred? So the mum from this, she was thrown against a wall for one scene, ended up damaging her spine in that. She was left on crutches for 2 weeks, so she couldn't film, and actually left her basically in constant pain for the rest of her life.
Oh no.
Linda Blair, she fractured her lower spine after being strapped into the bed that was meant to rock backwards and forwards. She developed scoliosis because of that. And ended up with long-term pain for that and a lifelong fear of cold environments because she had to do scenes in a refrigerated bedroom so that you could see her breath, and
jeez.
basically got hypothermia from it. Also one of the carpenters working on set sliced his thumb off in an accident, and a lighting technician lost one of his toes in a different accident. It was a tough film to make. You might almost say it was production hell.
Perhaps all that blood was necessary to make a great movie. Who knows?
Maybe
who can say?
It was sacrifices that I was willing to make anyway. So, yeah.
And hey, we had a time traveling Max von Sydow, right? Because he was really old in that, and then he became exactly the same looking old man in like 50 years from then.
Well, yeah,
40.
apparently the prosthetics guy who worked on that movie said that the makeup, the old man makeup effects on Max von Sydow, they were the best work that he ever did. That's the thing he's most proud of. And you would never know. Like, you would honestly look at him and think he's just an old man. Because, so often you see, like, people in latex and it looks awful. And, like, they just nailed it with him. Like, it looks understated.
That's just one of those funny things for me because I saw Exorcist as a kid and didn't really properly register much about the actor until then I started seeing pop up and other stuff that I liked. And I was just like, how can you be 80 for 40 years? That's not possible. Yeah. Like, it was like, what's going on? And it was like, no.
He just he excelled at playing older characters, I think. And
Yeah.
But in terms of other movies for that year, the biggies were Enter the Dragon, The Sting, Live and Let Die, the first Roger Moore Bond movie. That brought in 161 million worldwide, which is no small amount. And American Graffiti. I was going to ask, like, what did you think? What was your thoughts on Roger Moore as Bond? Because I have got the biggest soft spot ever for him.
I mean, like, at his best, I think he's excellent as Bond. There's just so much goofiness in so much of the, which is funny because like my favorite Bond still has plenty of goofiness in there. Kind of reminds me of like Batman over the years, you know, the balance between doing the suave, serious, or the crazy, campy, blah blah blah. But yeah, Roger Moore. There's loads of really good scenes, good moments, good highlights. It's just I also just sort of I just remember I am overcome with memories of goofiness that made me be like.
My favorite movies of his, of the Bond movies, are the earlier ones, kind of peaking with The Spy Who Loved Me. Sorry, did I just cut out for a second there?
No, I heard it.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah, I think when he was, it didn't play to his tendencies necessarily, but when he was asked to play like a slightly more like cold business-like Bond, I think he was really good at doing it. I just think it wasn't his natural inclination. And yeah, some of the campy, goofy stuff, like especially later on in his, Bond tenure, it's tough to watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, that year also gave us High Plains Drifter, which is an excellent Western. If you've never seen it, do give it a go because it's one of Eastwood's really good ones. Magnum Force, another Eastwood movie. Day of the Jackal, the original one with Edward Fox, I think, which is excellent. And Westworld, which is,
yeah,
it's a movie. Yeah. Weirdly, the first, the TV show, at least the first season, massively improved on it. It's just the same. It got garbage after that,
Well,
anyway, enough of that nonsense. Let's bring our bar in. Let's make this a proper open bar. So, welcome everyone to Robot Head, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett, and Erin Underwood. Welcome, everybody. It's good to have you here.
Greetings.
Good evening.
Hey, guys.
I'm sorry we waffled on for too long there. But when I get talking about The Exorcist and all the horrible things that happened trying to make that movie, I just find it fascinating. It's great.
I could just see the devil. He kept sending messages to stop making this film, and they just wouldn't listen.
I know, yeah.
And then the devil was like, all right, it was pretty good.
Wait, imagine going to the insurance company, right? And it's like, so how exactly did your sets burn down and you've incurred like tens of millions of dollars of damages? Like, okay, hear me out, bro. A bird flew into the fuse box and blew all the circuit breakers and the whole set burned down. What can you do?
Actually, like, got to the part where they just may as well have said the devil did it. It would be more believable.
Yeah.
The satanic intervention, you can insure against that.
Yeah.
So
I really appreciate MauLer's comment that, enough blood was shed to make some profit. So good job. Yeah. Like,
hell yeah.
Ooh, freaky.
I mean, it's such an interesting, different era of filmmaking because you don't get stuff like that now. They got all the health and safety bullshit, and it's like, oh, we can't have our actors actually getting severely injured and potentially crippled for life. That's not bad. And it's like, you're ruining the fun. Okay, that's what good movie making's about. You should be willing to sacrifice your mobility.
I can't imagine filling out the insurance form. And what was the young girl doing? Well, she had a crucifix, and she was and like, what the fuck are these people making over there?
We're going to turn her head all the way around.
Yeah. Funnily enough, that does cause spinal damage. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy talking about numbers like that as well. Back in the 70s, that made $441 million. Like, I haven't got the inflation.
Literally like $2 then.
Yeah. I mean, it was a worldwide sensation. And I suppose you're talking early 70s. People just wouldn't have seen a movie with that kind of, violence, crudity, the religious aspects of it. And it's, if you watch it now, even, it's quite a chilling movie to watch. Obviously, like, we've got things that are way more gory and violent in the decades since, but it still has this effect on you because it plays it so straight.
Yeah.
Which
Have you
again,
seen the footage? There's footage online that just on YouTube of people leaving the cinema at the time.
Yeah.
And They're just shook
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
crying and shaking, and yeah, it's
You
it's
wouldn't
pretty
have
cool.
seen anything like that before, and yeah, you get all these like stories of people fainting in cinemas and stuff. I can believe it. I really can.
One of my favorite subgenres of YouTube reaction videos is watching girls respond to The Exorcist who've never seen it for the first time.
Oh,
because
really?
They all get to that one scene, and even now it's so transgressive they can't even believe it. And I can only imagine what audiences of the day thought, because it's so profane. It's so transgressive, even now.
Yeah.
And I think what's great about, I'll tell you, I got a VCR when I was 13, and I'd never seen The Exorcist, and it was one of the very first videotapes I ever got. It was 1980. I saved it until midnight to watch.
Yeah.
And I turned it on, and the whole beginning sequence in Iraq with the angled shutter, nothing even happened yet. I was so terrified as a 13-year-old. I turned it off, and I came
Yeah.
back to it the next day. And even then it was jaw-dropping. And it's still my favorite horror film of all time, because it's intellectually disturbing. You know,
Yes.
it really, I mean, I was raised Jewish, and my best friend was Catholic, and I told him, I said, if I was Catholic, this movie would have been even that much more scary to me.
I was
Because
gonna say,
It's when
I was
it's
gonna say, I went
played.
to Catholic school, and like you had priests saying that they believed in all that, like that's what they taught, and that the Vatican has it, exorcists, and you're like, that added a complete other layer to that film. Was like laying in bed at night, like, fuck me.
And if you think about it,
I do like this comment here is when they're talking about the realism of filming. Max von Sydow just actually fucking died, and Jason Miller threw himself out of a window and down a flight of stairs during filming.
Commitment, man. Commitment.
well,
Yeah.
it's still powerful, because the movie, you have a man whose mother dies alone. He's a Catholic priest that loses his faith, and in confronting an evil that he's never seen before, it reinstills that faith in him, and he's able to save the soul of an innocent. I mean, in terms of storytelling, it's both classical and modern, and it works as well today as it did when it came out in 73.
It absolutely did. And Robert, you're absolutely right. The thing it has still going for it is well-defined characters, real conflicts, stakes that are unmistakable, a narrative that's cohesive from beginning to end, and just the cinematography of the time. Like, they really knew how to take advantage of angles and shadows and light to add to the story.
And Owen Roizman shot it. And Friedkin came out of that documentary style. His movie previous was The French Connection, and he would do things like, because he was a documentarian before he was making narrative features. And there's a great story when he was shooting French Connection. He was going to have Gene Hackman come out of a bar and go up the street, and he didn't tell Owen Roizman what direction he wanted that Gene Hackman was going to go. So the camera, now we have shaky cam and people take it for granted, but back then you get this, it's not a perfect shot. So you were creating that reality,
that feel.
And Exorcist is totally set in the real world. You believe it from the very beginning when Ellen Burstyn, she plays an actress, and she goes and she's starring in a movie, and it looks totally real. You don't feel, there's no CG backgrounds.
Exactly, yeah. The emotions a lot of the time were real as well. Isn't there that famous story when the priest throws himself out the window, falls down the flight of steps, and he's dying? Another priest administers the last rites to him, and the director wasn't getting the reaction he needed from him, so he slapped him across the face right before the camera started rolling, and then just said to him, right, fucking do it now. And of course, the guy's like shaking, he doesn't know how to react, and he's stumbling through the scene, but that gave them the exact emotion that they needed for that moment. Imagine a director now like slapped an actor across the face and said, right,
Get sued.
they would never work in Hollywood again.
There's a lot of actors that should be slapped across the face, but yeah, we're not allowed to now.
Pedro Pascal. Yeah, a lot of people talking us about Exorcist 3 as well. Sorry, we've gone into a complete Exorcist tangent here.
Welcome to the Exorcist podcast.
Hey, fuck it, I'm up for it. Exorcist 3 is a perfectly realized sequel. It continues from the original, but it does it in a unique way that completely different from the original. Yeah, I've seen it like maybe once when I was young. I don't remember too much about it. I remember it being much more of like much more gory than the original, if
Mhm.
that's the right word. Done in a slightly different style, but yeah, I don't know. Like
It's
if it's
got one of the
considered
great jump scares of all time. One of the most perfectly set up jump scares ever in Hollywood history. And you know, William Peter Blatty, who wrote The Exorcist, wrote and directed Exorcist 3. It's based on his novel Legion. So it's an interesting
Mhm.
there's a great Blu-ray release because when they made the movie there was no exorcism in it. So
Right.
the production company, they're like, you have to have an exorcism. So there's an original version that you can watch, and then there's the version that came out theatrically with an exorcism at the end with George C. Scott. They're both very interesting, but the film it's a
Mhm.
terrific sequel. It really holds up.
Yeah. No, I miss films like particularly of that Exorcist generation where, like you say, you know, we've got things like the shaky cam and stuff, that feeling that it's just super grounded in the real world. It's not always as polished as it could be as movies you get nowadays, but like it gives it that authenticity, that gravitas to it. And there's always just that feeling like this is a film made by adults. All
Yeah.
the actors are mature, and like there's a much more mature tone to it. Whereas I think a lot of the time with horror movies, you can get that sense of like there's a kind of immaturity to what they're doing because it's just about getting the next gory moment or the next jump scare or whatever, rather than something a bit more deeply unsettling. But that's what you get with something like The Exorcist. And I don't know, man, it seems to be a bit of a lost art now.
We had great directors
Yeah.
doing it, like coming from Hitchcock and people like that would do horror films, and
Yeah.
you know, now not
Yeah.
so much.
And the next year, Texas Chainsaw came out. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Toby
Yep.
Hooper's, and that kind of was the ultimate example of using. They shot it on 16 millimeter, I think, in documentary films. It just that's the same thing. The total reality of that movie. There was no artifice at all, which is what made it so horrifying.
Well, apparently as well, it was an absolutely grim movie to shoot because
Oh,
like
yeah.
the meat and stuff that you see, like, you know, a lot of the gory moments, like they used meat from a slaughterhouse and like they were filming in like 100-degree heat because it was like in Texas, and like it was absolutely stinking after like a few hours. Like
Lovely.
apparently the lead actress, I think, had a complete meltdown at one point and stormed off the set because they were getting pretty extreme with that shit.
Wow.
But hey, you got a good movie at the end of it, so you know there's something there.
Yeah, it's hard to
major-
get really well written horrors like that nowadays. In order to get them, I think you have to go to some of the independents like Neon or A24,
Yeah, like
where
Shelby
they
Oaks.
really still focus on the story.
I'm sorry, that was mean.
Good. Oh, MauLer, you had to do it. I knew it. I fucking knew it was coming. The moment she mentioned Neon, I was like, oh, he's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. Yeah, we'll get to some of like independent horror because we got a good one that we saw this week called Iron Lung, which some of you guys might have seen as well, but we'll talk about that shortly. There is one here that I thought just neatly kind of segues into our first bit. Commiserations about Starfleet Academy and Mr. Burnett. Yes, I've heard things because I could only stomach the first 2 episodes and I was just beat by this show. It beat me. It's defeated me. But you've soldiered on through it, and I think Erin, you might
Yeah.
have seen it as well.
Yeah, I watched through episode 4, but you know what? I'm such a weirdo. I loved watching episode 4 because I suddenly realized all these things that weren't making sense. Like, why did they do this narratively? Suddenly, I figured it out, and I'm like, this fucking made sense, and it was a bad decision.
Can you
Super bad
share it with us
decision.
so I understand how
tell.
it makes sense?
Why does it make sense? Yeah.
Because I've watched it and I haven't got a clue what's going on and
Well-
how this thing came into life.
Well, the thing is, like when I watched the first episode, I just kept feeling like the narrative timeline wasn't making sense. There was so much of it that I'm like, what do you mean they're on the ship? Why aren't they doing orientation day on, in San Francisco? They're
Yeah.
and then suddenly they're in a nebula, then suddenly they're not. Like it I was just like, this is just really weird. I don't understand the chronology here. And then I saw an episode or a scene with Jet Reno teaching a class before kids were even finished with orientation. And then I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't really fit, but okay. And then as I watched episode 2 and episode 3, I just started seeing even more of these disorienting moments. And then episode 4, when the captain opens with that little monologue she does about the nebula. And I'm like, oh, mother of God, that's what it is. There was a 5th episode. It wasn't 4 episodes, it was 5. And then what they did was they just sliced and diced the episode with Newsbraka and started squishing it into the 4 episodes that we
Right.
saw in order to like spice up that first one. And suddenly so many bad decisions that didn't make sense made sense. And I'm not saying I like the decisions, but I understood now why narratively I was feeling off and why I felt like the timeline was screwed, why things were not making sense. I understood it. Like seeing 5 puzzles and having one of the puzzles broken into pieces and then those little pieces shoved into 4 different puzzles. And you're like, what the fuck? This isn't what did you just make? It doesn't make any sense. So that's why I really liked watching episode 4 because I got what they did, and it was such a bad video editing or directorial decision that I think it destroyed the show.
I mean, I think it's fair to say, like, even if that hadn't been done and they'd kept that intact as that 5th episode,
Yeah,
it probably would have been a destroyed
bad.
show anyway, because like all of the other decisions about the characters, the setting, the world building, just simple common sense, like adherence to any kind of Star Trek lore, none of it exists in this show, as far as I could tell. And like, maybe you guys can help me out with this one because you've experienced more of it than I have.
Oh, it's I actually, to be honest, the idea of a Starfleet Academy show, I think, is a good idea. They wanted
Agreed.
to do it all the way back since the 80s. And if you think about it, Next Generation touched on Starfleet Academy in great ways. Even in the first season of Star Trek, the Next Generation, there's an episode called Coming of Age, where Wesley is going to take an entrance exam to
Yes.
get into Starfleet Academy. And it's one of those, is this really a test? He thinks something's going on, but it's a test. And it works out really well. And then in the 5th season, there's a famous episode called The First Duty that introduces a character named Nick Locarno, played by Robert Duncan McNeil, that they repurposed, changed his name because they didn't want to pay the writer of The First Duty, and made him a character in Voyager. But it deals with a disaster has happened when these cadets were showboating with this flying maneuver around Jupiter. And Wesley is one of them, and they're covering up their mistakes. Yes. And there's a character named Ensign Cito that's introduced in this episode who comes back later in subsequent seasons of TNG, or a subsequent episode. It's really well done. And, Picard gives a great speech about telling the truth. What is the obligation? And I think I've always loved movies or TV shows about school. Like, I grew up watching a show called The Paper Chase that's based on a movie that's set in
Loved it.
So love that. Then there's the movie Fame, Alan Parker, the great British director, Fame from 1980, that they turned into a series. Friday Night Lights being another example, but movies like Dead Poets Society and Good Will Hunting, or even at military academies like TAPS or The Lords of Discipline or School Ties, the Brendan Fraser movie. I've always loved those academic settings where the professors themselves are both protagonists and antagonists to the students. So, in The Paper Chase, John Houseman plays Professor Kingsfield. And if you look up Teaching the Socratic Method, you can see this speech he gives to his students about the Socratic Method, and everyone's terrified of him because he's such a hard professor. And if you think about it, imagine that character as a Vulcan teaching first contact protocol and debating the ethics on whether or not what you do when you first meet a new civilization, which the Prime Directive is all about, debating those morality and ethical principles and showing cadets dealing with that. You could have done that. But Alex Kurtzman has said in interviews that, no, we want to do X-Men First Class meets Harry Potter.
No.
And I'm thinking to myself, you have 60 years of lore. You even have a Starfleet Academy novel series that was written in the 90s, 20 different books that you could have gone in and delved into that appreciates Star Trek lore. And they've stolen so many things from novels in Strange New Worlds already. Why not go in and use those books? But instead of that, you decide to throw all of that out the window, and you're going to continue your idea of we're going to just make a show that is the messaging is more important. And I'm like, what is more important about Star Trek than teaching the importance of scholarship and academics? This could be
Robert, I love you. Like, I honestly love that you said that, because when I started watching the show, and I apologize for interrupting you.
Not at all. Please, Erin. We don't know
but-
each other. It's delightful to hear you say that about me. Thank you. But go, please.
Seriously, when I heard they were doing this, I thought that's exactly the kind of show that we were going to get. And I was so excited to see these students going into the classroom, doing their scientific research, doing their problem sets. But what we got was like the plastic or the facade of a science fiction set that the characters didn't really interact with. Like, we never saw them do any work. We never saw them do any studying. We saw them do nothing of the sort. And that would have been so interesting. And if they're trying to get younger men and younger women as viewers, people are bored. I swear to God, they are bored with just these melodramas set wherever. This series could have been set wherever, at any time, any place. It would not have felt any different. And I don't know where the science fiction went, but it's not in this series. It just doesn't exist in this series.
I don't think this series, and I think this setting lends itself particularly well to that. Like, and I'll tell you why, because first of all, like, I think it's so fascinating when Alex Kurtzman described this as what Harry Potter cut with X-Men First Class, right? It reminds me of that Simpsons meme where it's like they came up with a TV show and it's like, we had a singular vision, Titanic meets Frasier. And it's just like, let's combine a bunch of things that are popular and just like not have an actual artistic vision of our own. It's just high concept stuff. But also, like, if it's going to be set within one particular location, which is like Starfleet Academy, you can't really do like hard sci-fi stuff because you're not going anywhere. You're not like getting into the essence of what Star Trek is, which is experiencing new worlds, new cultures, new ways of being, just encountering like all these crazy phenomenon that you get when you're on a starship, like exploring the galaxy. So what do you have to rely on then? You've got emotions, you've got interpersonal drama, and you've got teen angst. That's what the show like seems to hinge on. And call me crazy, Star Trek fans aren't going to be interested in that aspect. And the kind of people who want like teen drama, angst, relationships, and all that stuff are going to get it for something that's set on Earth in the present day. They're not going to be interested in the sci-fi setting. And so it seems like a show that appeals to no one ultimately.
Well, what about the fact that you've got this Klingon character, and in their wisdom, they're like, we're going to make a Klingon character who doesn't really want to be a Klingon. Well, that's such an easy, subverting.
Yeah, you mean this guy?
Yeah. Oh, yes, that guy. And wouldn't it, and the way he's coded, I understand that. So his identity, well, wouldn't it have been more interesting if you had a Klingon professor who was trying to explain how the concept of honor can be applied to all aspects of life? Like, if you want to be a biologist, because there are Klingon biologists and Klingon scientists, if you're a Klingon doctor, what is the Klingon Hippocratic Oath? And if the Klingon Hippocratic Oath is defined by honor, what is a Klingon doctor's obligation to his patient? You can't sit there and go, he's gonna administer the most pain because a Klingon is supposed to endure pain. If you have a doctor, he's going to be the most honorable doctor in the world or in the universe. And if you have a Klingon shopkeeper, he's going to be the most honorable shopkeeper. And how can you apply honor? And this would have been what the audience was soaking up. Like, I've never thought about that. I just thought of Klingon warriors. But how would you apply the idea of honor, we here on Earth? What could we do in our lives to take the Klingon concept of honor and learn about how to apply it to, I don't know, how to deal with your friend or your spouse or your business partner or whatever? We would actually be learning things about other cultures at Starfleet Academy that we never thought we would learn, because no one's ever done this before in Star Trek.
Right.
And you would learn things that you could take away from a show and go, God, I never thought about that. How would I apply honor or honor? Because everyone talks about, well, he's just a great warrior. No, the Klingon civilization is built around the idea of being honorable. And that doesn't mean just in warfare.
Right.
It means in every part of your life. And if there's one thing that we, especially as Americans or people around the world in Britain, we could use a little bit of honor in the way we comport ourselves with one another and with our lives and with our neighbors and our friends. That could have been something really interesting. So the audience that's soaking up this show had never thought of that before. So what you have is you're not in space, but you're learning about strange new worlds from the classroom by people that are actually interesting. And what they've done is, instead of that, they've just subverted. They don't want to believe because they don't believe, because honor Klingons are inherently, the whole idea of it is sort of male, alpha male. And they don't realize, like, wouldn't it have been, maybe the Klingon instructor could have been a female, and you could have had a female character talking about how do we as females lead a life of honor. You could have done anything, but they're not smart enough. They haven't thought about this. They just, let's do X-Men First Class and Harry Potter. Oh, okay. Let's take other people's franchises that they've done, and we're just going to rip them off. We're not going to take this incredibly rich franchise that we control and think about ways, how can we provide Star Trek fans that have seen all kinds of things for 60 years, how can we give them and use the IP in a way that's never been used before? Oh, I'll tell you, we'll pollute it with all these other IPs that we like better instead of focusing on the very IP that we control. That's why these people are creatively bankrupt. They're fraudulent creators. And you know what sucks? This episode today was written by a Star Trek novelist named Kristen Beyer, who's actually written some great Star Trek novels. But because she has to toe this party line, she knows what she's writing is garbage, but she has to write it. It's so, talk about quizzling turncoats. And I'm sorry, Kristen Beyer, I like your Voyager novels, but what you turned out today is embarrassing. Sorry.
So,
what you're saying, Robert, though, is the writing is so bad. Like, they don't even have a sense of what an alien is. Like, every single character is just a human with a different face.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as an alien or different morals or a different upbringing or just completely set of rules of what they live by. Everyone is human with today's problems, just something that's happening on TikTok today, but they look like a Klingon, or they look like an alien, or they look like something else, but there's nothing else to them that makes them an alien. They're just a human in a costume.
I think as well, like, it's the use of like current day isms as well, like current day like slang and stuff that I just find so off-putting, because
like calling people assholes.
Yeah, or just like, I'm a Rigelian bitch. Like, and that's his saying in episode 1. It's like, you don't say
Romulan,
that.
a
Like,
Romulan flipping, giving the double bird. It's 1,000 years in the future. Why wouldn't, if we have this gesture,
why wouldn't they have their own?
Yeah, what would be the Romulan equivalent of that? Create something that we've never seen before that gives the audience, we can suddenly start using an inflammatory gesture in public and nobody knows what it means. Why wouldn't you? I would have thought that would have been really interesting. Like when Leonard Nimoy came up with the idea of the Vulcan nerve pinch, because he didn't believe that somebody should just get cracked over the head with a gun, a phaser. So he's like, what? As he says, you can see Nimoy going, well, this man is an alien. We don't know anything about him. Let's give him something unique to do that we've never seen before. They don't even think that way.
They don't they don't connect their characters to their environments, their characters to their cultures. This is what's wrong with the show. And Drinker, you mentioned earlier about there's no science fiction. They're not out exploring the world. But I'll tell you what, like, they're missing out on easy wins on that campus. They've got this open, glassy, beautiful, glossy environment. But what they're missing, like anyone who walks around a research institute today, if they want to bring in research institute stuff today, fine, do it. But at least do it in a way that's actually realistic and believable. You can walk around the MIT campus at any point in time, walk through the infinite corridor. The glass walls are there. You can see students experimenting. You can see them working in their labs. You can see lecturers lecturing. You can go into the bowels of the institute to see more experiments happening. Heck, you can walk around the parking lot half the time and see a bunch of beakers sitting out on a table getting sunlight versus rain or whatever it is
Yeah.
they're doing. And that's the kind of thing they should be doing at Starfleet Academy. And it would just add in an extra element of like, oh my God, they are doing science, even if we don't understand what it is they're doing. They could be faking
Well,
the whole thing, but they can't even imagine that.
I would perhaps posit the idea that like Starfleet Academy as well isn't necessarily a research organization. They're not going to be doing cutting edge research there, because the Starfleet Academy is about teaching these people to be ready for like assignments to a starship and going out and exploring the galaxy. Yeah, there's going to be learning, but like in the same way that in your average high school, you're not going to be doing cutting edge research about like biology or chemistry or whatever. You're just teaching people the fundamentals that they need. But I get your point. It's like you can see more of what they're doing there. But the problem fundamentally with this show, and it almost harkens back to what I was talking about with The Exorcist, right? There was that feeling of like, this is a horror movie made by adults with adult sensibilities. It's not about cheap scares or whatever. It's something much more deeper and unsettling that an adult can come up with because it appeals to our more complex personalities, our more complex mindsets. That's what you should be getting from Starfleet Academy. Yes, it's involving younger characters, but they're being prepared for like the ultimate challenge that human beings can undertake, going out and exploring the universe. It should be smart, but it's retarded, as far as I can tell. You've got characters who eat their comm badges because they don't seem to be functioning adults. Like, if any person did that, they wouldn't be put in Starfleet Academy. They would be put into some kind of special learning school or whatever. Like, how can this happen?
I can't work out what age group they're aiming at. I have no idea, because there's jokes for children, and then there's conversations about bisexual threesomes. Like, and calling people assholes. It's so all over the place. It is Harry Potter, and then they're trying to be Starship Troopers for a second. It's
like
so
James
odd.
Gunn tried to do a Star Trek show. That's what it feels like.
Look, it should be like West Point. If you're gonna, where it's college level. Like, to me, you know what the best Starfleet Academy show. They should have looked at The Social Network and the scene where Zuckerberg's making Face Mash, and he's coding because he's angry, and the scene with at the beginning with I mean, that was all about somebody being extraordinary, and you'd have all these. Or you look at something like Real Genius, if you haven't, the Martha Coolidge movie with Val Kilmer, where everybody's smart, and when they do stuff, they're pulling pranks. They'll turn ice. They'll make ice that immediately evaporates. Or there's been such a tradition of these kinds of stories. And looking at this, I'm like, does everybody who work on the show, are you all idiots? Like, really,
yes.
Have you
the
not?
Answer is yes, they are.
And I just, they are doing a tremendous disservice and damage to a franchise. I mean, our first space shuttle was called Enterprise, although it never went into space, because people were so inspired to go into into the sciences. What is this show for? Who is it for? Who is going to be inspired by this? There's nothing that's aspirational, which was Star Trek was basically taking a constitutional republic into space. That's what Star Trek, they called it a wagon train to the stars, but it was about, the American idea of having our constitutional republic, and we're out there to hopefully make other people's lives better. This show, I hate all these people. I hate the people that work at the academy. I hate the teachers. No one is exceptional. Star Trek used to be about the top 1% that we could I aspired to be those people. And these students should have been people that we didn't recognize. They should have been people that we hoped to be. And if I was 16 years old watching this show, I wouldn't want to be any of these assholes. I would never want to go to Starfleet Academy. Starfleet Academy should be the place that should be the coolest place ever. But people would rather be in Hogwarts because that's the show they're making.
I mean, when you were talking about who's inspired by this, I think it's inspired a whole bunch of content creators on YouTube to shit on the show. So like something good's come out of it. Like nobody's really able to defend it, which is fine as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't
But
deserve
that's
to be
sad.
defended.
In this day and
But
age, we are
there
wallowing
is
in the
one
muck.
nice thing.
Well, yeah,
There is
but
one nice thing that I think I need to call out is and it's not anything the creators did, but it's the actor who plays the Klingon, Jaden.
Yep.
Mhm.
He learned Klingon for his role. He was so excited for his role.
Yeah.
He was so happy for this opportunity.
And he worked
He
on the
went-
voice too, the
Yes.
lower voice. The
He
Klingon
I mean,
really
I
did a
am-
good job with
He's
that. And
terrible.
I am
I feel
100%.
so sad. Like he tried so hard and he learned
he didn't
Klingon. And
succeed.
it's
I
just
will-
a
I will-
disaster.
I will bet my house that his voice has been modulated. There's no way his real voice is that deep.
No, he does he did. I watched I don't know whether it was on Instagram. He showed himself doing it. And
Can he actually go that deep? Because that seems
he really did. It was pretty good. I mean, I have to give it up to him, but boy, has he been let down by the writing. Because they don't extrapolate. Like if there was a Klingon who wanted to watch birds or whatever, because they act like the Klingon civilization was spacefaring before humanity was. They wouldn't get into the stars if they didn't have great scientists and great inventors, Klingon philosophers. We know they love opera.
Mhm.
So there's got to be Klingon, the Mozart of Kronos would be revered.
Hey, they love
know,
Shakespeare as well. We know that.
Because it's in the original. And they don't bring any of that to, I mean, it's okay that a student doesn't want to, or a boy doesn't want to follow in the footsteps of his father, his mother, his culture, but make it credible within the context. You have such, it writes itself if you delve into Klingon lore. And I mean, it's just so disappointing that they couldn't even get the word Kalis right. Like the Klingon Kalis, who's a revered figure who was introduced in the 3rd season original series episode, TOS episode, The Savage Curtain. And then Kevin Conroy played a clone of Kalis that was brought back in Next Generation. They can't even say the name right. And the fact that they screwed up, the EMH screwed up the speech from the Picard speech from the drumhead.
Yeah.
How does that even, it shows you that these people are paying so little attention to the show that they're making, that why should we as viewers watch it?
I'm
Robert,
convinced that was an editing goof, because like his actual voice, it cuts. You can almost hear the cut when he was cut off mid-sentence when he goes from one scene to the next, and it's like that has got to be some shitty editing that they did. I don't know why they did it, and I don't know how it got through any kind of quality control, but it's just pretty emblematic of what this show is. Like, no fucks given, man.
You were saying, Robert, that like it's nothing wrong with having someone want to go against their parents or a different path in life, but they can't do it in any interesting way. Like the Klingon, he could still be like other Klingons but want a different path. But no, he has to be the weakest, panic attack, can't speak in public, wearing a skirt Klingon. Like they have to go so far the other way that you don't even recognize what
You know
he is.
why? Klingons are going to be a stand-in for toxic masculinity, and this guy's like challenging all the norms and
he's
living his truth. And it's like, oh, come on, man. Look, Star Trek was never a place of toxic masculinity, even back in the freaking 60s and with the original show. You don't need to be using that here. Like, the Klingons represent something well outside of that. As Robert said, they're about honor. They're a warrior-oriented society, but it's more akin to like Japanese samurai or something.
Bushido,
rather than
the code of Bushido.
And it's like, it doesn't need to be that crude stand-in, and you don't have to, everything doesn't have to be a stand-in for like modern deisms, but that's what the show is. It's just,
I love the episode about him.
awful.
To make him a warrior, all he had to do was shoot a bird with an arrow. That was the extent that they thought made a warrior. Like, it was, the big test was, can you kill a bird? And I thought,
Yeah.
right, it's just their idea of what a warrior is so soft and weak.
let's get the hell away from this show, because it's depressing to talk about. On a slightly lighter note, I don't know how many of you guys are watching it. Hopefully all of you. Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
Yay.
Right?
Yay!
Wow, has that redeemed the world of Westeros for me? That is
That's exactly what the doctor ordered, Adrian. Yeah.
it's just what they needed. Honestly, it's like pretty short, concise episodes. What are they, like maybe 30 minutes, 30, 40 minutes, something like
Yeah.
that? Like pretty short. They don't drag on too long. It's a nice, self-contained little story, a guy going on an adventure, a well-defined quest, likable characters. Our main guy is, he's a well-meaning chap, not the brightest guy in the room, but a well-meaning dude who will fight for what's right. And it just feels great. It feels like such a refreshing change when it comes to fantasy shows these days. Yeah, it's like, wow, you can actually just tell an honest story.
I watched it last night for today, and it's simple and great cast, and everyone can act, and
yes,
it's fun. Like
and they know how to build a payoff.
Yeah,
they know how to build it up and pay it off.
Yeah,
it was just a relief to watch because I've been watching Star Trek, obviously, Starfleet Academy, and as you said, you were saying you're going to talk about this. I thought I should check it out, and I thought, oh my god, people can still make TV.
Yeah.
Talk about wonderful writing, understanding they get in and get out in a short period of time, and they're delving into classic mythological storytelling we recognize these characters, and yet it's still surprising. And it takes fantasy and humanizes it and makes it very recognizable to us. We understand the motivations of these characters. We like these characters. We can't wait to go along with them on this journey. And it's just a wonderful piece of fantasy filmmaking.
I was just going to say there's a kind of nice I don't often say the word nice when it comes to like Game of Thrones and Westeros and stuff, but like there's almost like this relaxing slice of life element to it as well. Like this scene with Dunk and Egg when they're frying up breakfast together and just like eating that stuff and like just hanging out together, like getting ready for the tournament. It's completely unnecessary, but it just shows like a little bit of bonding between them. It shows how things operate in that world, and it just lets you see them going about their day. Again, it's just simple stuff, but it's just so effective, and it's just things that I missed things like that from House of the Dragon, for example. This was the thing I kept comparing it to in my review, where I was just like, god, that is so concerned with the high level stuff, the massive epic conflict between houses, and everyone just being miserable essentially all the time. It's a bunch of really miserable people hanging out in rooms, looking at maps, being angry, and it's like eventually it just grinds you down. Like I get that that's the tone of the show, but like fuck me, it's bleak and depressing. This has just got like a light-hearted element to it, which I think Westeros needed desperately.
Yeah.
And it just delivers it so nicely.
The meta needs it too, right? Like culturally, it's a literal show just about what does it mean to be like a good knight, a protector of the innocent, a defender of peace and justice.
Honor.
It's right from the core down too, right? Like he's got nothing but those ideals. And, we're going to see his journey unfold, which is like, feels like we're due for a reset maybe on what it is to be a hero.
Yeah. And
his casting is so good.
He's so good.
He looks like he could rip someone's head off, but he's so, I wouldn't say innocent in the eyes, but he's just got a lovely sort of thing about him that sort of is wants to move through the world and be a good person. And
he's like a guy who spent his life on like a farm in Dorsetshire or something, like, and now he's like he's like moving into the nearest town and he's got to like interact with people there, but he wants to make something of himself. And it's like you can't help but empathize with a guy like that because he is kind of innocent, like you say, and he's a little bit like lacking experience in the world, but you want him to succeed. You're rooting for him. Again, it's good. It's simple, but it works.
It is. And one of the things that I love is actually they're as simple as it is in these short little 30-minute segments, there's real layered storytelling happening at the same time. And when you get to the end of that third episode, like I knew what happened because I read all the short stories, but I was waiting for this moment because I kept seeing these moments where Egg kept saying things like, maybe I could be your squire after this, or and he was trying so hard to practice with the sword and practice with with the horse and all of these other little moments leading up to that moment at the end of the third episode, where when you finally get that payoff, your mind and your heart just kind of ticks back through the story and you realize like all those things. Egg was imagining a different life for himself and he was trying to create a different reality. And in order to save his friend, he did what he did. And
It's
it was beautiful.
And they're
It's
not
really
trying
neat
to
'cause-
trick the audience. I get sick of these shows or movies that they're trying to trick the audience and set them up in the wrong idea. Like you get that sense with Egg the whole time that he's,
Yeah.
looking for something different. And he's obviously come from a house, he runs off when they arrive at the tournament and things. But they don't trick you the whole way along that it's not going to happen. It's sort of built up in a lovely way. It's I think they used to call it writing. I think it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And imagination.
there's
Yeah.
people I know who first run were like, episode 1's kind of boring. I don't really see if there's much point to this show. Then they've watched, they push through the 1, 2, 3, and now they're like, oh, that's what all. Okay, it's like it all slots in perfectly. Like I gotcha. I know. Okay, this show's really cool. All the dialogue is benefited from a rewatch. It's actually a very easy to watch show as well.
I think as well, like, because this is something you didn't really get with with Game of Thrones, with The Witcher, with House of the Dragon. You didn't get the adventure aspect of it, because not that they didn't have good moments, like in and of themselves, but they were very much set in an established world where the characters were in their own environments. They weren't going on a quest necessarily to try and achieve something. You weren't going on this this POV adventure with them where they're breaking out of like some very isolated or very like safe and constrained life into a bigger world, and then you get to see that open up in front of them. It was very much like, you saw people from the highest levels down to like the common peasants and stuff, but like they were doing their own thing. This has got that element of adventure to it. Like I know Dunk isn't, like, at least at this point, traveling very far. He's just at the tournament, but he's moving into a bigger world, and he's dealing with people he's never had to deal with before. He's dealing with problems and like the challenges that come with trying to move up the levels in his world. Again, it's an adventure aspect that we don't get a lot of in modern fantasy, because it's all been about like political intrigue within an established framework already.
Yeah.
That's what I've missed.
Yeah.
I want to see someone
what?
just go somewhere and do something,
And it's really great. Like in Meyer, I did a response, not actually a review of number 3, but I kind of shilled number 3. I'll admit, I loved it. But in any case, one of my viewers actually made the comment, like, do I have to have watched Game of Thrones to understand this? I'm like, no.
Right.
You can come in cold and you'll be fine. You don't have to do the homework. Just show up and you'll be good.
Yeah.
Well,
mean,
that's
this
the
is
great
step
thing
before.
about. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, because someone was asking in chat as well, is this pre or post Game of Thrones? This is pre, so it takes place before any of that anyway.
It's so pre that it's borderline disconnected. You'll recognize families, but you're not going to recognize any characters, at least for now.
But what it does, I think what's really interesting in these larger IPs that take place in these vast universes, it's a continuum. You've got the politics and people that are running the country, which is essentially what we got with Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon. And then there's all the people that have to live in this country day to day. And if you really are thinking about how that is going to work, you can find stories to tell on every level. And one of the things, like one of my favorite shows ever is The Wire, and in The Wire, HBO's The Wire, you were dealing with various aspects of how does a city work? And you start it through the eyes of drug dealers and cops going after them. But then you dealt with the union dock workers, then you dealt with education, and then you dealt with the city politics. And it all kind of worked together. And in these fantasy environments, like, they were going to do a live action Star Wars TV series about the underworld of Coruscant. And there were 50 scripts written, and they were really going to do it. And HBO is about to pull the trigger. And then the HBO executive who was working at the time, got caught up in some sordid something with a woman, and then he was fired. So it didn't happen, but the scripts were written. But it would have been really interesting.
Apparently Kathleen Kennedy doesn't know about them because she said there was nothing left behind.
Yeah, well,
Kathleen Kennedy says a lot of things, just like James Gunn.
But I mean, it was the thing about the Star Wars universe is that there's so many interesting aspects. You could do a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms in the Star Wars universe that doesn't have to be about a Jedi. It could be about, a guy or a kid or a girl or whatever you want to, and wanting to do something in that universe, because someone has to build the starships, and somebody has to design the science, and somebody has to moisture farm, and there's all this stuff you can be dealing with, and yet it's our well, Night of the Seven Kingdoms proves it, but like with all these other IPs, nobody thinks that way anymore. Nobody thinks about, the great thing about Tolkien's universe is he chose the Shire. He chose the hobbits to tell this incredible story about the end of the world. And there's all this other political intrigue. He could have started, with Rohan, or he could have started with Gondor, but he didn't. And people have not learned that lesson, apparently.
Well, I mean, it's funny because it's a simple literary principle of like you start small and gradually expand the world. And like with Lord of the Rings, it's a really easy way to start in the Shire. It's like this very homely, very understandable, relatable place, especially if you were in Britain at the time reading that. The Shire is just like little England from some bygone era. That's all it is. Like, it's small villages. It's all very homely and understandable. But then you gradually expand beyond that world into more fantastical elements. Then you introduce more danger. Then you introduce more characters from this outside world that start to fill you in and the protagonists on what's actually going on beyond it. And like you gradually expand the audience's understanding of the world. That is a simple way of doing it, but it's like, as you say, we seem to have lost that ability to do this kind of thing now. But that's the essence of an adventure. You start really small and you gradually build that world out. You expand it. You expand our audience understanding of it along with the characters. You're going on the adventure with them.
I mean, that's what Star Wars did with Luke.
Yes.
With Luke,
he's
or
a farm
also
boy.
with Andor. Like, there is that instance of Star Wars getting it right, but that they would never have kept that series going. They cut it down to what the two seasons, and then ended it with the film that was already made. They could do it if they wanted to, but they don't believe in it.
But even Andor was so big, like it was the Death Star, like it was all leading to the biggest event straight away, like within those 2 seasons. Where I always like when people say, you got to zoom in as much as possible at the start as tight as you can, and then slowly start zooming back out again. And this show, starting with him burying his mentor, was so simple, and then having explosive diarrhea, which was a surprise. That zoomed in pretty close to a character, and then was pulling back.
Yeah, that was like a horse going for it. That was crazy.
I liked how they cut it with the music coming in, though, like the game.
I mean, I said to MauLer last week, it's like, that was like a fucking low hanging fruit example, but they went for it, and it was kind of funny. But Andor had so much world building, like the shop on Coruscant, the small scene, but there's a lot in it. The show itself builds up from a very small incident. It's great that way.
Very, very much like an alternative character start, right? He's just a guy looking for his sister, and then gets involved in something in what looks to be like a prostitution area of Star Wars, dingy corridor, trying to get robbed and kills the two guys. It's a very dark and gross sort of start for a character compared to someone like Luke. They're very hopeful, but both dig themselves out of the places they don't want to be up into something much more special and important.
Ooh, here's I know I'm jumping back a little bit into Star Trek stuff, but remember Star Trek 6? They conspired with us to kill their own chancellor. How trustworthy can they be? Their honor is a lie. Don't trust them. Don't believe them.
But that shows that there's corruption everywhere. I mean, if you think about it, also in Star Trek: The Next Generation, in the episode "Sins of the Father," they make Worf accept discommendation. They have to make sure that the transfer of power is going to be safe, and so they allow dishonorable people to get into power, which eventually leads to the Klingon Civil War. And that that's nuanced. And the problem with these people is the people that make Star Trek now is they want the civilizations in Star Trek to be only one thing. They don't realize that it's a continuum. The very worst things are happening, and the very best things are happening always at the same time, and everything in between.
Mm-hmm.
And not it's so they want, it's just so frustrating to watch. And they've turned this one Klingon, and I get it. You want to make him queer coded, you want to make him on the outside. That's fine, but do it in a smart way. You're telling us that we're all idiots, and you're speaking down to us as if we're kindergarten students. And it's so Star Trek is not the show to do that in. We deserve better
Yeah.
from you.
Well, we expect better, and like that's what Star Trek was founded on, is expecting better and like actually treating the audience with intelligence. But like we don't have that anymore. We don't
Night
have
of the
that
Seven
luxury.
Kingdoms does. It's a fun show for everybody, and yet it presupposes the intelligence of the audience.
Well, as
Well-
I think Robot Hyde was saying, like if you watch it more closely, like like if you replay it and watch it again, like you'll get the hints that are there about what's coming, and it's all good stuff. It's not a super complex story. I don't need it to be. Sometimes it's nice to just tell a simple, honest story and do it well. I'm fine with that.
And sometimes it really just needs someone who loves and understands the world and isn't willing to give up on that low-hanging fruit, maybe once in a while, but isn't willing to give up on the story in order to satisfy the studio. And I know we all have different opinions of George and his work and his methods or whatnot. But I really do appreciate the fact that he's been burnt and he's, I think, just tired of seeing other people ruin his shows. And he's like, from day one, when he started working on this, he's like, I'm not giving this one up. I am driving this one to the end. I'm holding on to this one. I'm going to make this one work the way
did.
that I see it in my head. I'm not handing it over. And so what will season 3 look like? I have no idea, but I think this one has the passion of the creator behind it. And I just don't see that same kind of passion in Starfleet Academy. And that's,
No.
I think what's missing is there's not that passion to make sure it's right, that everybody cares and everybody loves it.
Let me bring up a couple more super chats just before we move on here. The great RMB is so on point. The Klingon chef in DS9 prided himself on his food served on the promenade. Easy layup would be to hire Rob to shepherd Star Trek going forward. Yeah, why don't they just hire you?
Oh, they hate me.
The new great bird of the galaxy, RIP Star Trek. But it's like, you're like one of the few people in the industry who actually still super cares about this franchise and knows everything about it. It's
Well, I mean, it's
frustrating.
for professionally, I've interacted with it. I haven't actually worked on any of the shows, but for 3 years, I made documentaries about Star Trek that appear on the Blu-rays for Enterprise and Next Generation, where we talked to everybody involved with Next Generation, aside from Roddenberry, who'd passed away, on down. And I spent literally 3 years of my life studying how a great Star Trek series was made by talking to the people that made it. And you can see, like Ron Moore, he went on to create Battlestar Galactica and then co-create Battlestar Galactica with David Icke, and then he Outlander, and now he's doing God of War for Sony. And if you look at how they're casting that show, they're doing a pretty good job. If you're a God of War fan, and of course he created my favorite sci-fi show running now, which is For All Mankind, and which is a show that combines soap opera with sci-fi alternate history. But at the end of the day, it's about smart people doing smart things that respect one another. It's a great precursor show to Star Trek. And I think one of the real problem I think that we're having is that no one believes in our storytelling anymore. Everybody wants to, like, people, you can't have people that don't believe. I mean, in America, I talked about bringing a constitutional republic to space. If you don't believe in our Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments of the United States Constitution, you can't write great Star Trek. You can't. Yeah. And so now you have people that don't believe in America. They believe in socialism. They believe in this. They believe in that. They believe in identity politics. Because that's easy. That doesn't...
Well, and also they don't believe in research. Like, frankly, I am convinced. I mean, I can't prove it and I don't want to get sued or anything, but I am convinced they used ChatGPT to do their research, because there were so many little things that, I mean,
I think they used it to write the script. Well, that's actually,
I wouldn't be surprised.
I think ChatGPT would do a better job, to be honest.
Let me bring up this one here. West Sports Guy says, in memory of my dad who passed away last April, he scared 5-year-old me during Ghostbusters Library Ghost. He yelled and grabbed me and I ran terrified. I watched it later alone. Your panel's movie passion reviews are shared love for film and TV. Thanks, Drinker and Crew. That's an awesome little story. I love stuff like that.
But isn't it
That's
funny
fun.
how a dad, like, this guy will remember this for the rest of his life, and to the dad, it was just a fun little moment,
Yeah.
What you do for your kids, and they'll always remember it.
Formative stuff, but yeah, we all had our dads do like stupid shit like that. It's awesome.
That's a truly scary moment too that was made even better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, being kind of freaked out by that scene as a kid. Like the animation of the ghost like transforming into the monster. I was like, that's pretty good stuff. I like that. It's the exhilaration of being on like a scary roller coaster ride or something.
The films that kids were shown, I mean, Ghostbusters isn't bad, but I mean, we're watching The Exorcist that we were talking about earlier. As kids, the films we were watching back then compared to what kids are allowed to watch today is quite different.
Oh yeah,
There was a lot of scary moments.
Went to an 8 p.m. showing of Return of the King last night after a full day's work. Almost passed out, but Theoden's speech was the late party bump that kept me going. That'll get anyone going, man. It's beautiful.
That's such a good movie to see in the theater. So good.
They all are. If you were around back
Yes.
then and you saw them for the first time, like, god damn, that was an experience that can't be replicated.
They just showed them again here in the States.
Yeah.
They showed all three in the theater, which I love that people can go experience them again or see them for the first time.
Yeah,
Yes.
see them on the biggest goddamn screen that you can find. That's one of the few times where I would definitely advocate going to the cinema and getting that experience.
Oh
Yeah. I went to the Dolby Digital Cinemas, and just so I could get the surround sound and the feeling of it. Oh, I'm telling you, you feel like you're in the world. Like those are some damn good cinemas.
It's incredible to experience, but then it's sad as well because you're sitting there thinking we're not going to get this again, are we?
Yeah,
we're not going to get.
We're getting something
like
pretty good next month, though. Project Hail Mary.
Oh my God,
yeah.
Robert! I can't wait for that movie.
That was.
I think it'll be really good.
I'm
Like I don't think it's going to be like Lord of the Rings level, but like
no, but I think I read that book in one sitting.
Yes,
and it's gonna. If you like The Martian, especially the extended version of The Martian, I like to believe it takes place in the same universe but later. I love that story, and yes, it's populist science fiction, and science fiction writers are always coming at me going, I read a lot of different kinds of science fiction. It's not Werner Vinge's A Fire Upon the Deep, but Project Hail Mary is a very satisfying story.
Yes,
and what it is about communication and how can two disparate individuals learn, first of all, how to speak each other's language, literally, and then work together to save the world. And it's the kind of story that we really could use. And it's all about smart people doing smart things.
Yes.
Well, and also about science. Like this is a real movie. Like, yes, science fiction. Science
but
isn't
you're
perfect,
absolutely right.
But they're actually using scientific principles. They're trying to show like how you do research in stages and steps, and the way that the actual story is constructed is enough that you can get like this back and forth between real time and the past with flashbacks that I think Ryan Gosling will be able to pull it off. I think it'll feel like a thoughtful science fiction film. I think that there will be hope in it, and moments of sadness and joy. I mean, all the things that you want in a movie like this. I hope I'm not disappointed because I'm a little too excited for it.
No, it's going to be, if it's not great, it's going to be, I'm going to be devastated.
We could cry together.
I think I will do that. I think though that what's another really interesting thing about the movie and the book is there's a big concept that we as human beings understand, that there's a scientific concept, I'll just say it, radiation, that the other character doesn't. And it was so interesting that you have two different cultures that are both very aware of the universe around them, but depending on what you're experiencing, simply because your ecosystem is different, one civilization knows something and another doesn't, and has to find out the hard way. And I was like, wow. It blew my mind when I'm like, how do you not know? But when you hear why, and the book just blew me away. It really
the other civilization doesn't understand that like time slows down as well, like time dilation as you approach the speed of light, and so like they couldn't understand why they kept drifting off course when they were like heading towards this star system. And, like I think he had to just do it like by like eyeballing it, which is wild, but like
I mean, it's just a
You'll,
fun story, and
it's really good, yeah. Hopefully
But
they do it justice.
fingers crossed.
just a reminder for that movie: be careful, spoilers. Don't want to spoil anyone. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
Yes, indeed. Anyway, yeah, allow me to move forward with this. So, the other thing I was going to talk to you about is Bob Iger is stepping down as CEO of Disney. He's actually stepping down ahead of schedule as well, about 9 months, apparently.
Mhm.
He's going to go, the last day he's going to be working there is going to be March 18th. And the incoming CEO that's going to replace him is Josh Diamo. I don't know how you say it. Diamaro? It's
Tomorrow, yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but yeah, this is Iger actually leaving, and I think he's actually leaving for good this time, as opposed to like when he just kind of merged into the shadows, Ned Flanders style.
Didn't he just keep his
mean
office
Homer, right?
last time? I don't think he even emptied
Oh
out
yeah,
the
sorry,
office,
yeah,
did he?
Homer. Yeah, he basically he was still CEO in all but name last time, but I think this is him actually leaving because he is older now. Like he is late 70s at this point, so it's probably like retirement age
Yeah.
now. I guess
But-
like what is his tenure going to be seen as, like as CEO of Disney? Because man, he has presided over some absolute highs and lows.
Yeah.
But the new guy, like his claim to fame is all like the theme parks and the experiential stuff. So it really does make you wonder, like, what does that mean for the cinema and the storytelling if all of his experience really is like physical entertainment rather than screen-based entertainment?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he kind of presided over like the acquisition of all these other brands, these other franchises, didn't he? You know, he presided over the purchase of Lucasfilm, of Marvel, like all of this stuff of Fox, the Fox acquisition. You know, his entire strategy as CEO of Disney has just been to buy up other people who are making things that we want. And like that's, I mean, it definitely worked in some senses. Like his, buying Marvel has netted them billions of dollars. You could definitely say purchasing Lucasfilm, not so much. Fox,
It
they've
could
still
have,
to.
though.
It could have, yeah. Like the principle behind it was good. It's just like they had a retard in charge of Lucasfilm, so that certainly didn't help them. And yeah, purchasing Fox, you could argue they've still not found a way to make use of most of their properties at this point. Like they've definitely done things with Predator, they've done things with Alien. They probably shouldn't have done those things, but they've tried. Yeah. So it's like, well, where do you begin to make sense of this crazy time that he's presided over at Disney? Because there's a lot to unpack with him.
Yeah.
I think the biggest question for me, and I will stop talking because I feel like I'm talking too much here. The biggest
There is no
question
such
for
thing on Open Bar.
the biggest question for
What
me
was
is
he?
what brand new content, what new IP, what new story did he bring out that just blew everybody's socks off? Like
They
what's the
became the
new Disney?
kings of what, recycling
Mhm.
old stuff. Just repackage it and punt it out into the world again. Like that's the era where we had all the live action remakes of the classic Disney animated stories. That's where they brought back all the old franchises like Star
Right.
Wars, like Indiana Jones, like all of these things. That's where they resurrected Predator and Alien. Like as you say, what have they done in his tenure that's been new, that's been original, that's been successful amongst all of those things? Not a whole lot.
Well, they're just businessmen. Like none of them are like Walt, are they? They're not from this creative mind. They could be selling anything. They could be selling sneakers. Like it's just let's bring back that old design of a sneaker, but we'll put sparkles on it this time. Like it's just.
I mean, they did.
It's just about making money.
They
And
did have
they're
things like Frozen, under there were. I think I think the problem, having worked in this business now for a long time, albeit at a lower level, the people that are controlling the money and deciding what things get made are completely almost apart from the actual creators that make this stuff. So the people that are in charge, they don't themselves, whereas Walt Disney had his own instincts. He was like, I run the studio and I want to do this or I want to do that. You know, Walt Disney was responsible for 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea getting made, which is still one of the great fantasy films of all time that Disney hasn't even bothered to put out in 4K on disc. Or Mary Poppins. Those two things were Walt Disney at his finest. I mean, the things that Walt Disney wanted to do, he was a technologist and he had his fingers and interests into a lot of different pies. But now we have these businesses that are run not by creative mavericks, but run by people that are beholden to Wall Street. And they're talking about shareholders, and they're not capable of conceiving of something new, like a new IP. So they hire people they think can do those things, but they themselves don't have instincts. They can't partner up with somebody and work in tandem to create new things.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's problematic. I mean, Kathleen Kennedy is a fantastic movie producer, but she relied on the fact that she facilitated what great creatives needed and wanted. Steven Spielberg would call her like, she's one of the greatest producers I ever worked with because he had the vision. He created, I want to do this and this. And Kathleen Kennedy is great. I will help you do that. And all the logistics she would handle. But she didn't know what E.T. was going to be. Like, she didn't know how Carlo Rambaldi was going to work together with Steven Spielberg. She didn't know how Steven Spielberg was going to make that movie work. She just knew that Steven Spielberg knew.
In other words, yeah, so she wasn't a creative person, but then the problem comes in when you put a person with no creative instincts in charge of an entire studio where they have to set the creative direction for that studio.
But
they can't do it.
I think that a lot of situations too derailed her because at first she started doing some really interesting things, and then the people that she hired and stuff, in a way, it kind of went all askew. And then it became more about identity politics and we're not hiring the people that have merit necessarily. We're hiring the people that check boxes. It really went off the rails.
Well,
but I mean, what we need though is a guy who's running theme parks. It could work. But on the other hand, I don't think the theme parks have been necessarily run, especially in California. They've jacked up the prices. They've made the experience not user-friendly. It is no longer the happiest place on earth here in Disneyland. It's one of the most annoying fucking places you can go to.
To go to Disney World in Florida even is a nightmarish experience because you have to have like a dozen different apps that tell you exactly which ride you have to go to that you booked like 6 months in advance to even stand a chance of getting on anything. It's awful. Like, it takes the fun right out of it. What's the point in going to a theme park where you have to plan it like a military operation?
Disney went from being a company that, you know, their goal was to entertain people, let people have a good time, to now it's just how do we extract money out of people? How do we get? So we've got the parks, got the movies, but how do we extract as much money out of people that we can? And that's the difference. They don't care what they make or what it is or how good the quality is. If it gets bums in seats or people queuing up to spend bloody $1,000 to get into Disneyland, that's all they care about.
Yeah,
it's such a sad way to run a company like that as well. Like, as Robert was saying, like something that was founded on just like dreams, like imagination, the desire to create art for its own sake, and sure, to make a shit ton of money along the way, but like the primary drive was just like that dream idea of like something bigger than yourself, and it's like, let's start exploring all these incredible like fairy tales and like this world of imagination and stuff, to just put it in the hands of like this like soulless kind of cynical money man and just be like, okay, well, how can we, like, what do the focus groups say is going to be the most profit driven thing that we can churn out there, and that's all you get? Like, damn, man.
Well, it feels like we've traded in our sense of wonder for money, and
100%.
Definitely, you know, a Disney thing that we've seen, but that goes across the board, all the studios. I mean, when I think about when I was a kid, the sense of wonder that I had when I went to see Pete's Dragon in the theater, or when I went to see Star Wars on the screen, or Indiana Jones, you know, all of these things that for the first time you saw them, it was like, oh my God, it just broke your mind and it was so amazing. And that was what it was like to experience cinema. And I think that's also why the Gen X generation is we're the ones like raising our fists, like, come on, man, you've lost the note here. You've lost that sense of wonder. You've traded it in for dollar bills and it's not working out. It's not turning into the dollar bills that you imagined and hoped it would be because you forgot what brought people to the cinema in the first place.
Where have you been all my life? That was exactly right. I mean, I'm just saying that. But the thing about those creators is those creators were not motivated by money. You know, they had stories they wanted to tell. They needed money to tell those stories. But, you know, I look back at the career of someone like John Carpenter's The Thing was just added to the National Registry of Films. They pick the Library of Congress picks 25 films a year that they add to their national registry. It's like having films that were anointed to greatness. John Carpenter's The Thing, which basically derailed his career. Like, John Carpenter wanted to make money, but if you look at he started out as a student filmmaker. He made Dark Star that was later turned into a feature. Then he made Assault on Precinct 13. Then he made Halloween. Then he made The Fog. Then he made Escape from New York. He cut his teeth. And then he finally gets an opportunity to make The Thing at Universal. This is his magnum opus. He puts everything he's learned into it. The movie opens 2 weeks after E.T. and the same day as Blade Runner. And everybody, I mean, can you imagine? Blade Runner and the summer of 82 was one of the greatest summers for genre cinema ever. And poor John Carpenter makes an incredible film that opened 2 weeks after the most feel-good alien encounter movie of all time. And every critic was against him, and this poor guy who just loved cinema, you know, went to film school, made these great low-budget movies. All of them are worth seeing. And he finally gets to the studio, and he wasn't making movies because he thought, oh, The Thing's going to make me a ton of money. He'd made a ton of money making Halloween. He'd make a ton of, you know, and then he finally gets there. This movie comes out, and not only is this wonderfully crafted film with these crazy effects beautifully done, not only does Ennio Morricone score it, he just has the timing is everything to come out 2 weeks after E.T., and he gets pilloried by the critics.
Yeah.
I mean, people destroyed him, and he never recovered. I mean, he made a lot of great movies after that. Starman's great. I love Big Trouble in Little China. I like Christine. I love In the Mouth of Madness, Prince of Darkness, They Live. It's not like he was a slouch.
But he was outside the studio system.
He was outside the studio system, and he didn't get the respect he deserves. And the thing is, he
got it retrospectively, though. So.
Yeah, but he didn't do it because he wanted money.
Right.
And that's, look, movies have become so expensive. I get it. No one's going to spend $200 million unless it's a sure thing. But what we have to do is we have to find passion again, because ultimately passion does make money. And the people that make movies and entertainment, the real genuine people that make movies and entertainment, they know that their passion will make the money. So you need a creative producer or a studio executive that understands how to recognize that talent and passion and give them the opportunity to do that. And there are producers in town that know, like Roy Lee found Zach Kreger, who came out of sketch comedy, to make Barbarian. He made Barbarian for $4.5 million. It makes over $40 million. And then Roy Lee takes Zach Kreger to Warner Brothers, and they make a great deal, and they make Weapons. Same thing with Ryan Coogler. You know, he could have made more franchise properties, but he's like, nope. I want to go make my own, well, not little, but he goes and makes Sinners. Warner Brothers said, you know what? Okay, we'll bet on you. We'll make you an unprecedented deal. And he got to make that movie, and it made a lot of money too. So the studios are learning how to win. The question is, will the new leadership at Disney be able to figure out where the new creatives, where are the people that bet on themselves? Mark Apiller.
I was going to say,
won real big last weekend.
When you want to talk about, people with a lot of passion for their source material who gamble and create something that they really care about and then make a ton of money from it, well, we've just had Iron Lung come out, and it's already made like well over $20 million against $3 million budget. Wow,
And he gets
there's
50, he gets 50% of that money.
Sure, I mean, it's not
Amazing.
like he wasn't short of money to begin with, but yeah, I'm glad that the gamble has paid off because he put his own money into this. He didn't even crowdfund it, didn't get outside investors. It was his own cash because he cared about this property and he believed in it, and he actually produced a really good movie at the end of it. And here we are. There's your success story. And
Right.
well, MauLer and I have seen it already. I don't know if Robot Head or
Yeah,
Rob or
I
Erin.
didn't love the movie, but I'll tell you, I had an experience sitting in that theater. I was the oldest person in the theater, and I thought, as a movie, I could review it and critically. Here's the thing: that movie had passion in every frame, and it was a man's first time feature. He starred in it. He was pretty audacious setting it in one location. That wasn't an easy thing to do. And when it was over, the audience that he cultivated that turned out for him, they applauded. There was a rousing round of applause in the theater that I saw that at, because these were kids that were familiar with the game. They had been following Markiplier for how long? Pillar. Markiplier for how? He's been on YouTube for what, 15 years?
I mean, sure. Like, what I would caveat that by saying is, like, I have not played the game, and I'm not particularly familiar.
And it's
with
an
him
indie game that he loved.
Yes, but I would say I watched it. I haven't played the game. I don't really watch his content. I don't hate him or anything. It's just I've never really
me neither
watched that stuff. But I watched the movie, and I really enjoyed it. I was very invested in it. I thought it did some really interesting things. It explored an interesting idea. It did horror from a slightly different perspective. And I came away from it thinking, yeah, I had a pretty good experience watching that. And that is such an interesting contrast to say something like Shelby Oaks, where I watched that and just thought, yeah, I guess that was a movie. Great. But like that shows like he believed in this and he had an interesting concept that he wanted to explore with it, and he did it successfully, and so it can be done. And I think there's a lot
his
to
38 however many millions of subscribers he has on YouTube. He went directly to them, and they supported him.
Yes,
they turned out, and what's really, Markiplier, what he did was really interesting because one, he took an IP that was, call it an IP, an indie video game that he particularly loved, that had interesting lore and all that. He put up his own money. He believed in himself, cultivated his own audience. In a way, it's kind of like what Young Rippa did with the Rippaverse. He created Isom and then sold it to his audience. Markiplier did kind of the same thing. And now Hollywood is going to run around beside itself trying to figure out how can they replicate his success. Because if you look at the ROI in terms of the money spent, so he spent $3 million, didn't have to pay much marketing because he had his platform to do that for him.
Yeah.
And he made like 400% profit.
So far.
And if you think about a $100 million movie or a $200 million movie, if you think about how much they've been spending on Star Wars movies and how much they've been spending on Indiana Jones movies or whatever, people think that you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars in profit. We're not. If a movie can make, if you make 20% back, that's a pretty good return in Hollywood. He made 400% in 4 days.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I mean,
you just got to get 30 million followers. That's the first step.
Yeah, because I think in terms of like reach and like general awareness, obviously he's an order of magnitude above people like me or Chris Stuckman or whatever. So that's definitely an advantage. But I think there's a lot of normies who turned out for this movie as well, because I think the word of mouth is pretty strong around this one.
There's also just a difference in what audiences are cultivated, because you'd have, again, Stuckman's such a great example. He's like trained his audience to be quite passive at this point. Meanwhile, Markipliers are like hyper engaged, hyper energy filled, ready to go, and he's basically like, "Hey, together we can do this."
Totally.
He's talked before. He wants to inspire people. He wants to show it's possible. He wants to show the path and then walk it and let everyone see him do it. Versus like, I want to be a director.
MauLer, I think you're
Looks like he can't even get
100%
through his
right.
own videos.
Yeah.
Well, that's a very good point. And he did a video I watched because I did a deep dive. He did a video with his mom, and like his mom wrote a book, and I'm just watching the two of them. I'm like, I'm supporting this dude. I don't care what he does from now on. I am a Markiplier fan if I can just get his name right. I thought that was baller of him to do. I don't even know how long ago that video came out or whatever, but
because I was talking to MauLer about this before we went live, and it's like, casting yourself as the main character in a movie which essentially only has one character is a bold move, and like that could have been an absolute disaster if he wasn't 100% committed, and 2 relatively good at acting. Because if this was just like you had to spend 2 hours with some guy who was a block of fucking wood, that would have been a nightmare. And he clearly like invested 100% in that, and he's actually pretty good in the movie.
He's not
like,
bad, right?
If I looked at that, I'd be like, yeah, he's an actor. It's like, did a good job.
He definitely doesn't get in the way of the film. It's like, and all the power to him. I hope he pursues all kinds of shit going forward with this, and it's going to give him a lot of momentum. I was somewhat impressed by the film. I think it ended up being somewhat better than I kind of expected, because you just get so many YouTuber films that are like, oh, well, you know what, you tried, hopefully next time. Especially considering he's a it's like, I don't mean this derogatorily, but he's a gamer. He's a guy on the YouTubes that does let's playing and stuff. So you don't expect like a film knowledge or library or appreciation of the crafts, knowledge of all the tools. It's like, well, he's got the most important number one thing, which is passion, and you see it all over the film. The amount they knew, they were like, we're filming in this small tube, so we're gonna have to put the camera everywhere, find every single part we can put it in, stuff that camera at every portion, get every shot you can imagine, make it more interesting.
He's a
lot into
guy.
every crevice, MauLer. Is that what
every
you're saying?
Single hole.
I was waiting for that comment.
Let's just go all the way with this one. Let's do it. Get out of the way.
Not to say, of course, he's got plenty of experience, and he's showing it off. Like he's done a lot of productions that involve a lot of filmmaking and storytelling, and that's the thing. That's the passion of, he wants to do that. He wants to create stories. He wants to inspire people, versus like pursuing a director's career because he wants to be seen as a director. And that's all that matters.
That's it.
Yeah,
I think that is the crucial difference, is like just wanting the adoration or the respect of being a filmmaker versus like having an actual interesting story you want to tell, and anything that comes out at the end of it is just bonus. Like this was his passion, and hey, you got to respect it, man.
But you
did
also
something pretty interesting.
The thing that I think should never be lost is he took another person's creation that he loved.
Yes.
That independent video game, and he gave the person who created that game all the credit in the world. He put his own money in to support call it an IP, but he was all in on another person's IP. He didn't come in there and go, well, I'm going to subvert this and make it the way I want. He tried to honor someone else's creation in the way he could. And I thought, for that alone, that was something that we do not see these days.
He said, when he was writing it, he passed the script through to the original dev to make sure everything was okay. And like, if the dev was like, no, I don't think that works for the original story, he'd just be like, no problem, out it goes.
Yeah.
That is, that amazing. And that,
can we give Markiplier the rights to like Resident Evil, Tomb Raider, BioShock?
Well, we are getting Zach Kreger's Resident Evil, and he's a believer. I mean, I know we'll see, but I have hope.
Well, I think part of.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it would be a technically well-made movie. I just like Dyson with Resident Evil just seems to be a poison chalice at this point, and no one seems to be able to nail it.
So I just think part of the reason that this film, and I will admit to y'all that I haven't seen it yet because it's been too cold here in Boston to go outside. It's been so cold, but I will be seeing it this weekend. But the reason that I think this film is doing so well is because Markiplier understood the story, and he understood that people are like, we are story creatures. We understand story intuitively. And he understood that there is a connection between the fan base and the thing that he was making, and that he needed to honor that connection between the fans and the story that happens on screen. And when you do that, you're going to get that. I think there's like an inherent energy between the film and the audience. And when you can tap into that, you can realize so much more out of that endeavor than you can with like a cold told story that just seems to be cash driven. And
Yeah.
so all the power to him.
I think it's that coming together of like, you know, the perfect storm of like one, a YouTube personality with a huge audience that's going to back him. Two, a relatively popular game that like a lot of people would be excited to see get adapted. And three, it's a horror movie. It's a horror genre kind of style of movie making, which I think inherently is like very cost effective, and people are very forgiving towards horror movies in a way that they might not be with a drama or an action movie or whatever like that. Horror gets a little bit of an easier ride to some degree. And so all of those things came together to make this movie that, you know, was very financially successful and actually turned out to be quite a good film in its own right as well. And so, hey, this now going forward is going to be the benchmark against which other projects like this are judged.
Yeah.
I know we've had other YouTubers like who did that horror movie as well about the fucking possessed. Oh, Christ, I'm gonna have to look them up.
Talk to me or bring her back.
Talk to me, yeah. Talk to me.
That was a good one.
They kind of made that transition as well. Yeah,
Yep.
so
And
like,
they're fantastic filmmakers.
yeah.
Mhm.
So that and Iron Lung, I think, are going to now be the benchmarks for success for this kind of thing. But like they've proven it can be done now, and I want to see other people do it.
But
I
they
do
took
too.
it well by removing him from the charts of the box office charts.
Yes, so that was number
they're
one at the
taking it
box
well that
office.
This guy's come along and is having a good run. You know, they're really supporting him. I do, because I knew nothing about this guy. Shows how spread out YouTube is, and then he's got like 30 million followers or something. But I do like his videos where he's pointing at the chart going, I should be here. Like I should be just here. My film should be sitting at the moment, but they've removed me. But he's a likable guy.
Because I feel as well like he probably wasn't doing that out of like ego or anything like, oh, I have to get my recognition for being on the chart. It's more like, no, but that hurts the film's long-term prospects if it's not even registered on the charts when it should be, because then people might watch these charts and be like, oh, well, this thing's charted is popular, so like I might go and take a look at it now.
He wants the fair fight because he wants to be able to see the actual results. So getting knocked off a chart completely is like, whoa.
Well,
like,
that's 100%
How does that even
thumb
happen,
on the
you
scale.
guys?
I haven't
how do you
followed
take
that. Did
someone
they
off the
really
chart?
take it off the box
Yes.
office charts?
Yeah.
They did, yeah,
Why would they do that?
because they're scared of it, because it's something that existed outside the Hollywood system.
He hit the top, and then apparently he went to check it the next day, and he wasn't on it at all. And
I'm looking at it right now. He's not on Box Office Mojo at all. Is that? I mean, I'm sure they're justifying that by saying the normal reporters aren't reporting in, so they can't verify the numbers.
Well, he was there. That's the weird part.
And well, it had
Wow,
a theatrical release like anyone else. Like it's in cinemas, and so it should
yeah,
be reported on.
I didn't realize this. This is appalling.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of bullshit that they pull though, because it's like, oh, a threat to the system. We must neutralize this as quickly as possible.
This is
the poor guy's doing videos pointing where he should be on the chart, which is like second place or something after a couple of days.
It's really sad watching him talk about it. Because he's pretty humble, pretty chill about everything, but he's like, that's weird. He's like, I was beating Sam Raimi and now I'm not there at all. It's like, what's going on?
You know, I think this is a great summation. I mean, we rail against storytelling, but also this kind of stuff is really contrary to where we should be concentrating. I mean, what he's doing is we want innovation. We need people who are going to risk their own money and risk their own creativity and make these kinds of things. And if we're not supporting it or celebrating it as a culture, where are we?
Yeah.
I mean, this is a really cool thing that should be celebrated by everybody in the industry.
But that's the thing. The industry's approaching this from a purely business perspective, because that's all they are now. Like they're not artistically driven for the most part, and so they see it as just like a threat to their business, and so like it has to be neutralized. But that's the thing. He is just the first of many, right? There's going to be others that follow in his footsteps. He himself is probably going to make more movies, and they are probably going to do well financially as well.
He'll do the same thing. He'll leverage his audience to come out and see what he makes.
And the thing is, he's not the only YouTuber with like 30, 40, 50 million subscribers that will come out and support him if he gets into making movies. There's going to be others. Okay. And once they realize that they can do this, and a lot of these people at that level will have millions of dollars in the bank that they can potentially invest into filmmaking if they're that way inclined. More and more of them are going to start doing it, and they're gonna fucking put Hollywood out of business eventually.
Well, that's what Hollywood's afraid of, Drinker. They're
yeah.
terrified of YouTube as a platform, but also creators as these kind of upstarts that are undermining their systems and their processes and how they pull all of this stuff together that they create. And so they have no control over YouTube, and they're terrified of it. They don't know how to market here. They don't know how to talk here. They don't know how to relate to the fans. They don't know how to be one-on-one with people in order to get them invested in their stories and their projects. They just don't get it. And that's what terrifies them.
And then they'll start pulling, like I've seen even Tarantino talk about having trouble getting films into the cinema. If there's a big blockbuster coming out, like he gets kicked out and moved on, and so someone like that talks about. So next time this guy goes to make a film, the studios might just tell the cinemas not to have his film, don't release it. They can make it very difficult for people like this if they want to.
There's something that Hollywood would probably love to be able to do, but it's much harder for them because of just how there's gonna be a portion of people in the industry that want to backstab and grab any money they can. Then there's gonna be people who are desperate for a job and may lie about their credentials or what they can actually do. And then there's the middlemen throughout everywhere who absorb so much money to do a job that doesn't even need to exist. Versus a guy like Markiplier who direct contact with the dev, direct contact with a potential DP. Someone who's inspired by his work and says, I can do this for cheap. I believe in your project. And a bunch of people like that come together, create something maybe smaller. Everyone gets to know each other, and now they've got a working team. And they're like, hey, I know a guy who can do this. And that guy knows a guy who can do that. And then they build their new studio up from the ground. And it's so lean, so much cheaper. And they believe in the work. It's like, it's almost like Hollywood cracks open, all the pieces fall over the floor, and then it starts to build back up again, hopefully with actual people who want to make this shit.
And then in the demand is Bob Iger's running it. There's a Bob Iger of the future that has taken it over and just fucking destroyed it, and it's going to have to start all over again. It's going to be
the demand is always there. The demand for entertainment, for art, for movies, whatever, it's not going to change. It's just the method of consumption and the method of production is going to have to change over time because new technologies, new opportunities become available. And guys like this are showing you that it can be done, and it doesn't have to be done with some $100 million bloated, ridiculous mega budget flop that has never got a chance of success. It can be done outside that system, and you can produce something halfway decent, and it's only going to get better over time. That's the reality of it.
And the interesting thing is Markiplier doesn't have to be beholden to any shareholders or anyone other than his audience.
Not only that, he gets to reward his team when the film does really well. They get even more pay.
100%. And, that's it's kind of like, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, while they work within the Hollywood system, they have started a company called, I want to say it's called Artists Equity is the name of their company. And
that's how the RIP was made, wasn't it?
Yeah, the RIP was made under, and they want to make sure, at least I've seen them talk about this, about how they reward the crews that make the films, and everybody is a profit participant in what they do. And I think what's happened is with YouTube and with the platforms that we're talking on now have afforded creators they have the monetary power. I mean, you've delved into this, Critical Drinker, yourself. You can make things that you control and own and leverage your audience to get out there. And I mean, Markiplier had literally tens of millions of people and got them to come out. But if you have that, you don't have to spend any, you market it yourself. So you're not spending twice as much money to market what you spent on the film. You're doing it yourself. This is something that Hollywood can never have. And in a way, every single human being now has the ability, I mean, at scale, to create things and cultivate their own audience. I mean, it's the ultimate democratization of making. Coppola used to talk about, well, the next Citizen Kane's going to be made by some girl in the Midwest in her basement.
Yeah.
We're there now. Mm-hmm. We're there. I mean,
The technology is affordable. You can do VFX and stuff on a really tight budget now because technology is more accessible to people. There's less obstacles in the way of producing feature films now for the average person. It might involve a bigger investment of time, and you might not have the best actors, but like it can be done. Like I say, it's only going to get more accessible for people as time goes on. And the Hollywood system that's become so bloated and so inefficient is just going to get gradually swept aside in favor of these other productions. And there's a comment here actually that I thought was interesting. Yeah, 25 million is great for Markiplier, not great for theaters. It's not, but like it doesn't need to be because it's January this movie came out, right? It's like fuck all is happening. This is a time of year when it's the dumping ground for movies traditionally, so no one's going to theaters anyway.
Also,
so if you get movies like this, okay, great. The next one might make 50 million or 100 million. It's only going to ramp up.
Theater health, it will follow overall film health. Once that goes up, it's the rising tide, right? We can worry about that later. We got to get people making good stories first.
But for a weekend, though, we don't know what the per screen average is. So the real mark is how many screens did it open on, and what was the per screen average for those theaters? And let's say the per screen average was $2,500 or to $5,000. That's a pretty good result because it might have only opened in on 1,000 screens. I don't know. I don't know what the
it says here 3,000 on Box Office Mojo.
Okay, 3,000 screens, but to make 25, actually the 25 million includes foreign. So I think it made just shy of like 17 million or 17.5 domestically. That's a pretty good result for a movie that was marketed. Now, if you could do that every weekend, and if you had 100 creators like Markiplier who were making movies and with the technology and make that kind of, not everybody can leverage that with their audience, but that's not bad to augment what the studios are putting out for one weekend. That's pretty good. And like everybody was saying, in February or January and February, that's not a bad result, because when I went and saw it, my theater was half full.
The dump months could become their hunting ground ultimately, because no big Hollywood studio is going to put out anything worthwhile in those months. But like, it could be an easy win for like smaller creators putting out indie movies like this. I'm sure they're probably going to stay away from the summer movie season because that's a whole different ball game. But
somebody in the chat said $56,000 per screen. If that's true, that's a huge response.
Well, and you also have to think, like, who are the people going to see that film in those cinemas? Are they regular theater goers, or are they people that they haven't been to the theater in a long time, or they're new to really going to the theaters because, it's been a while. And so that's something that the studios really need to be paying attention to, is who are those people that Markiplier is getting into the cinema?
Yeah.
Those are people that studios want to have in their bucket. And that's, I think, if I were a studio head, I'd be like, who are those people, and how do we get a hold of them?
Only 6K, still not bad.
Yeah.
But I find that comment so strange. It's like against everything we talk about on these shows. It's a corporate comment, not a creative comment. Like,
right.
How much it made? Like, what are we celebrating here? So what? Okay, well, let's turn around and cheer Bob Iger then, because he can turn around some piece of crap and make $1 billion off it. Like, I don't even understand what that comment's trying to say. That we shouldn't support a young creator that's put his own money into something and made a profit because it wasn't great for the theaters. Well, maybe if there was 20 films coming out over the next couple of weeks of that level and they were great and people were taking chances on them, we might get some great films out of this. Like, I don't even know what that dig was. Not great for the theaters. Well, it was pretty good for creativity. It was pretty good for someone giving it a go. And I think, isn't that what we all want? Like, I don't even know. Who gives a fuck? Like, the guy made a profit. Like, let's start supporting more of these people. I find that comment very strange.
Well, remember, the people that come to the theater, they buy concessions.
Right.
The theater that I went and saw it at, the Regal Spectrum, is a terrific theater. It has 2 bars in it. I hung out and had, to be honest, 2 double Jamesons, which were not cheap before I went and saw the movie.
One of them.
Was it better?
That's the way to do it.
And there's all different kinds of business being done in that theater, in addition to the box office, to tickets. So I really enjoyed going. We went and saw a double feature. I went and saw that and Send Help. So we're there and enjoying it. So as long as people are getting to the theater to see movies, it's not just that box office. They're spending a lot more money and having a good time. And what theaters are starting to do in America is diversify. They're providing more of an experience than just the movie, so they keep you in the theater to hang out. So however people get into the theater, whatever reason they go to the theater, it's a good thing. And Markiplier, how many people in his audience did he inspire?
Right.
How many people are now going to try their hand at making films? Many won't succeed, but some will. And some 11-year-old kid who's been following his playthroughs is going to be like, Markiplier made a movie. I can make a movie. And he might be sent off. It's what Star Trek used to do for people.
Well, isn't that what
Markiplier's the one
Spielberg did when he was a kid? Like, he saw movies and he got inspired, and now he's Spielberg, you know?
Yeah.
Well,
That's where it should come from.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like this one here as well. I saw Iron Lung twice, probably seen it a third time this weekend. Every time I went, the theater was packed full for a movie with no translation. This is from Poland.
Wow.
Yeah, it just shows you, like, this has got the appeal. I'd be interested to see what the final box office numbers are for it, because honestly, like, who knows where it's going to end up. But yeah, good on it. The other thing that I was going to try and cover just before we do some super chats was Fallout Season 2. Now, I don't know which of you guys, if any of you, have watched it this season at all. It might just be that I'm the only one here. But
I watched parts of it, and then I skipped to the final episode right before the show.
Right. No, I don't blame you. You probably didn't even miss anything, and that's the frustrating thing about this season. A lot of it has just been putting characters into holding patterns and time wasting, which is frustrating as fuck. Like, Coop is no closer to finding his wife at the end of the season than he was at the beginning. Like, his whole quest has been like, he knows that she's in cryogenic freeze in a vault underneath New Vegas. He needs to try and get to her. And when he eventually does, he has to like reboot. He has to get Mr. House back to life, because he's now an AI, which means getting the cold fusion device and then using that on him. And then he just finds out that she's not in the cryopod and she's somewhere else. And that's the end of the season for him. So it's like, okay, you achieved absolutely nothing. The stuff in Vault 33 or 32, I can never remember which one, like with the fucking the snack club thing, that's just complete waste of time. That goes absolutely nowhere. Didn't need to be done. The other Vault Overseer, who's like, what, I can't remember what the character's called. You know, the blonde woman with the eye patch? I don't remember
her name, but yes.
Yeah, I can't remember her name. Yeah, she's revealed to be like an overseer who was frozen. She dates back to before the war. Like, no huge surprises there. There was clearly more to her. So that again, that just feels like a lot of like time wasting. Lucy's whole subplot is just trying to reunite with her dad, which she eventually does. And like, it kind of just feels like it doesn't really have a resolution in the way that you'd expect, because his thing throughout the series is that he's got these like mind control things that you implant in someone's neck, and it will turn them into a passive, obedient, happy person. So it's that whole argument of like control versus freedom and safety versus security, all that sort of thing. And that's really, there's no real debate to it though. She just kind of nukes him. And he's just taken out of action by the end of it. Like, there's no real doubt that she's going to do this when there should be, because he potentially has a solution to the conflict that's going on in the wasteland. Yeah, who else is there? Maximus. He's a non-entity in this one. He's just there to facilitate other people. He's there to help out the ghoul for the most part.
Yeah.
And he spends like 2 entire episodes fighting Deathclaws in a suit of power armor. Oh, by the way, you know how they're like the most terrifying monster in the wasteland? They can just be one hit killed with a sniper rifle. like they're nothing now.
I feel like I made the right decision. I quite enjoyed the first season, and well, I thought it was fun. And then I watched the first episode of this season and thought, no, I've had enough of this. I don't need to know any more about this world. I'd never dropped off from a show so quickly, and I just have not gone back to it. I think as soon as you said okie dokie again, I went, nah, I've had enough of this now. And I don't see anyone talking about this show this season.
No. It's frustrating because like they're clearly setting up some big conflict for the third season, because it's like all the different factions are now marching on Vegas. Like the New Californian Republic are somehow back up and running, even though they got nuked. And as far as I was aware, we were led to believe that they were just like a couple of guys like living up in the hills. They were just bandits by that point. They've been waiting a decade for reinforcements that were never going to come because they've been destroyed. But now they've got a whole regiment from somewhere who just show up. The Caesar's Legion, they finally they get past their civil war. How? I don't know. One side just wins, I guess. So they're marching on the city. Macaulay Culkin's there, doesn't give a fuck. Clearly, he faxes that performance in. I was kind of excited to see him. I was like, all right, cool. It's good to see he's doing better in life now, and he's got acting gigs. He could not give less of a shit with this show if he tried. It'd be like if I just got put in the show and it's like, hey, just act like a legionary. Okay.
It sounded like you dropped that in to see if people were actually listening, because I haven't been following the show. When you just said, and Macaulay Culkin, I can't get it.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, is there. I thought, is he in this show?
He is there, yeah. Like the whole Legion thing was so retarded. It was like the previous Caesar had died, and like basically his followers had split into two camps. And they wanted to know who he'd named as his successor, and it was written on a piece of paper on his corpse. But because anyone who tried to get it was going to get shot by the other side, like it was just lying in no man's land. And I kid you not, no man's land is about the width of my office here. Like the two camps are literally right next to each other, and they've been fighting this whole time. They've never managed to like outflank each other or anything. It's retarded. It's like game logic. So there's that. And everything's just put on hold with them. The Brotherhood of Steel are useless morons now who just are manipulated into a civil war where all the airships like end up destroying each other. How it's mostly Maximus's fault, to be fair. So there's a lot of just stupid shit that happens this season that I just, it's frustrating.
I don't know, Critical Taker. You didn't mention my favorite character. Who's the dog?
Dog meat, yeah.
The dog. He was like the best.
He's got the most consistent characterization.
Yeah. He's loyal.
Thaddeus, because people were asking about him in chat. I think he's turning into a super mutant or some kind of mutant. He's not a ghoul, put it that way, because he's got mutations going on that are probably gonna get worse. His arm falls off at one point, and he doesn't seem bothered by it. I mean, if one of my limbs just dropped off, I'd be quite upset by that, but he's like, it's fine. Don't worry. And yeah, they keep they're dropping in a lot of flashbacks to like before the war with Coop and his wife.
A lot of them. A lot.
Yeah. But it's weird because the tonal shift is wild. You're going for these like retarded, like, guys in Roman legionary armor fighting each other over like a dead body, to like this really super serious dramatic stuff in the prequel era.
Yeah.
And you're expected to just mash that together into one show, and it doesn't work. Like you can't have both things at the same time. So yeah, I mean, I feel bad because I really defended season 1, and I was like, this is a fun show. And I think they've dialed up the stupidity to 11, and they still want to have their cake and eat it with this one. I mean, I will say Walton Goggins is still carrying it on his shoulders 100%. Like his character is the best thing in the show, but I don't think he can save it.
Yeah. I think it's sometimes when we get these shows that have like a great first season, and then the creators just want to keep it going, so they don't let you have any resolution. They don't let you have anything that comes together, just so they can keep it moving forever and ever. That's what's happening here.
This, I think, is the best description. They can't decide if this is supposed to be Fallout or Borderlands. That's what it feels like. It's like that level of stupidity that they're alternating between, and it's
I also think that
it doesn't work.
They were slightly unique enough that the novelty actually just kept it going for a season. But season 2, everyone's already exhausted, so
Yeah,
it's over.
Lucy's not an interesting enough character to save the show either, because she's your protagonist in theory. But I stopped caring about her at a certain point because I knew she was invincible. She's never really going to come to harm or whatever. And like even the arc that she goes through just doesn't really exist. You know, like she's not becoming this innocent vault dweller to like a hardened survivor. She's just kind of like fluctuating in this in between thing where she's just in a holding pattern. There's just not much. There's not much more I can say about it. Really, it was a pretty uninspiring season, and I just kind of don't care where it goes next because there's no stakes. I don't feel like there's any stakes to any of it. Sorry. I wish I could give better news on this one because I would have loved. I love the games. I would have loved a great Fallout show, but this ain't it, man. This ain't it.
And it's reflected in the people talking about it. Like everyone's just floated away from it, whether they liked it or, you know, like I said, I enjoyed the first season, but just no interest in watching any more of it.
No.
I think the great takeaway is go watch A Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
Yes.
It's funny. I was talking earlier today about did I like Fallout Season 2 or The Last of Us Season 2 better? And I had to fall in on the Fallout Season
Surely
2.
Fallout wins.
I would watch that over Last of Us any day of the week.
Yeah. So I have to cop to that I had this conversation earlier. So I wanted to make everybody. But I think everything you just detailed is true about the Fallout show.
It's a shame because it's such an interesting world, and if it was tackled with the right tone and like, it's the commitment to the source material. God, it could have been amazing, but this is what you get.
It's crazy, like Erin said, that these sort of shows they just keep trying to do the same thing and drag it out. Where in this world you could kill off people and get rid of characters and bring in new characters and just build and build and build, and they decide not to. It's just,
none of these people, because none of these people are intrinsic to the games, like Hank or Lucy or Maximus. You could kill any of them off, really, because they're not part of the game lore. But they won't. I know they won't. So, there's just nothing to be invested in. Like, as I say, the Ghoul is the only one, but then that's just because Walton Goggins is giving a really good performance. That's about all you get from it. And he's a bit nerfed in this season as well. Like most of the time, he's always getting injured or he's getting incapacitated somehow, and has to be rescued by someone else. It's like, well, okay. Again, you're not giving me much to latch onto character-wise. Oh well. How about I try and answer some super chats, or we all do? We can do that. Here's our instruction here. Drinker and MauLer, please tell everyone in the fellowship to correctly emphasize the S in aliens rather than the N in order to distinguish between the original and the sequel. Gets my goat. Hail. I mean, sure.
Fair.
Do they not do that?
basic English grammar. Everyone, go for it. I think we're pretty much clear on the distinction there. The Right Fiction. If you guys were to compose a list of top 10 perfectly crafted and scripted films, what films would you potentially put on that list? Would Shawshank Redemption, Die Hard, or Hot Fuzz qualify to be on that list? The answer is yes.
Potentially all three,
Yeah.
They would, yeah. Those are all good choices, I would say. Terminator, Aliens.
And Aliens.
There you go. I'd put that on the list. Predator, I think, would be a good choice as well.
Sure, yeah.
All pretty tightly scripted, I would say.
The Prestige.
Yeah.
The Road Warrior.
Yeah. That would
you mean Mad Max 2.
You're talking to an Australian there, so you got to choose your words carefully.
I'm just trying to make sure it's said correctly.
Yeah, I'm a Mad Max fan. I should have said Mad Max 2. I apologize.
It's so much more creative, Mad Max 2, just than Road Warrior.
Well, it's funny. I did see Mad Max in the theater here when it came out in 78, I think. I saw it. My dad took me when I was a little kid, and it didn't get enough traction here, so they had to change the name to the Road Warrior. And it was interesting when Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome came out in 85. I always thought that was so strange. Like, they went back to Mad Max, but the Road Warrior didn't count anymore. but either way, The Road Warrior still is one of the greatest action movies ever made. Mad Max
Amazing.
2.
Yeah.
There's a great what was this one? Yeah, just play Fallout New Vegas instead. Far superior writing. Arcade and Veronica alone are much better characters. This particularly struck a chord with me because there was a tweet doing the rounds from someone today. It was referencing the show where there was like one tiny reference to New Vegas where there's a sniper that fires in slow motion. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing, man. I'll read it to you now. I was screaming in excitement when I saw that they paid homage to the opening scene in Fallout New Vegas. When I saw that NCR armor and I heard the music, I was in Fallout heaven. The Fallout show rewards the gamers so much with scenes like this, and I love it. That's literally like he Vadered.
Yeah.
You know, I saw something I vaguely recognized from something I like, and so that makes this thing awesome through osmosis, I guess. Fuck off. Fuck off with your member-berry bullshit. Expect
that can't
more.
be a real person. That's got to be publicity.
No, it's Dan's gaming. He's very real. He's been making shit longer than all of us.
Fuck you, Dan's gaming. You're an idiot.
Oh my god.
Looks like we found Critical Drinker's line there.
His nemesis.
You could quote me on that one, assholes. After Fallout Season 1, I had no desire to see Season 2. Seeing as how they absolutely wrecked the story and themes of Fallout 1, I had to protect myself from seeing their destruction of New Vegas. I think that was probably a good idea, yeah. Mr. House in particular, man, like, because he was an awesome character in New Vegas. And yeah, what you get here is a pale imitation, sadly. Yeah, Fallout feels like a Star Trek, a hollow shell of former greatness. It used to be sci-fi stories of surviving the wasteland, trying to rebuild society, and the inevitable conflicts that arise. It just feels like set dressing now. Yeah, it just feels like goofy comedy. Like how many retarded factions can we put together in one place and have them do wacky, crazy things because they've got no like willpower or interest of their own? I guess that's all it is. It's sad to see what that's become of it. Let me skip back to the beginning for a few. Slip de Garconde says, amongst other major events in 1973 was my birth. Society seems to have been in decline ever since, which I take no responsibility for. Well, I think you need to take responsibility for things that happen. Because that's what I've learned from current society. You have to take responsibility for things that had nothing to do with you. Clearly. Scotty NCC says, watching Starfleet Academy makes me feel like I've just been essayed. Ooh, yeah. Sorry, yeah. I should have done that in its proper context. Watching SA makes me feel like I've just been essayed. I mean, intellectually, yes. He also says, I viscerally hate this show, so Sisko never came back, directly falling into the absent black father trope that Brooks and the creator deliberately went against. I guess he went out for space milk. No, space cigarettes, I think, is what he went out for.
I do want to point out that in the Star Trek Litverse, Sisko does come back. And they did a great job for 20 years. The Pocket Books put out this Star Trek Litverse that went beyond the Dominion War, and it was all tightly constructed with a tight continuity. And that was another thing that the Secret Hideout Star Trek series destroyed, because with the advent of Picard, this beautiful Litverse, they had to end it, and they had to stop making this continuity. So they wrote a really interesting 3-book series called Coda, and they took 20 years of people that really thought about Star Trek and ended it so the Alex Kurtzman era of Star Trek could become canon.
Blah, that just makes me feel dirty and not in a good way.
Yeah. And so that's another thing that today's episode was, I can't even.
Just can't even. It's like too much trauma.
Well, it's just, it is trauma. I mean, it's such a weird thing to love something that has intellectually inspired you for your whole life. And you watch these people that haven't expended any energy. Although Kristen Beyer, who's a great Star Trek novelist, did co-write this episode. But Tawny Newsome, who played Beckett Mariner, the animated character on Lower Decks, not only did she co-write this episode, but she cast herself as the new Dax. She's taken over a legacy character. So it wasn't
Yeah.
enough to be an animated character that crossed over into Strange New Worlds. She now has to accept the legacy of a main character from Deep Space Nine, and she's the new iteration of that character 1,000 years later. Really?
That is pretty rotten.
Really?
Texavis says, I'm so tired of movies trying to appeal to kids with TikTok brain. If they can't sit still and pay attention to them, then make films for those who can. Yeah, well said. Melvin Deeply says, I watched Starfleet Academy episode 5, and this is for you, Robot Head. Why did you make me do that, you upside down Antipodian wanker?
It was all part of the plan, Melvin. It was all part of the plan.
Scotty NCC. Cisco came back for the birth of his kids, built his house, and retired in secret on Bajor. The rest of this episode was the usual stroke-inducing travesty. Sounds about right. Pac-Man. Perhaps Star Trek's most defining and rare in sci-fi trait was a vision of the future, a better vision of the future than the present, the antithesis of Kurtzman Trek's vision of a regressive future. Yes, I couldn't agree more. But the thing is, Kurtzman doesn't see it as regressive. He still thinks it's better than what we have now. That's the sad thing. Marksman says, saw Iron Lung with my friends and we all loved it. Our bodies will become the soil from where a new tree shall grow. I think this film is the new canon. Yep.
I also think there's a lot more going on in the film than a lot of people necessarily took away. Like he loves his Five Nights at Freddy's and other lore games for all the indie horror stuff where you get the presentation, then it's like, but wait, you remember the this and the this and the this, and if you pull that there and push this there, like what was the creature, where did it come from, what did it want, and what was it protecting, / who were the exactly the factions and what happened at Filament Station in total. Like there's lots of stuff for everyone to dig in and find out about, which I quite enjoy myself. So I'm happy that he's incorporating a lot of that from the stuff he did on his channel as well.
Save the Cat says, is it bad that I'm kind of cautiously excited for the sequel to a movie that I didn't even finish? Because I only watched about half of The Devil Wears Prada before I got bored, but the sequel's trailer had me kind of... I mean, fair.
All right.
Yeah, a lot of people have been comparing just the visual quality between the two movies, like that switch from like film stock to digital, and it's like how flat and fucking washed out everything looks. I don't know if that's the digital film stock that's the problem or just the lighting that's different, but yeah, it does look shit in comparison. Captain Bucky O'Hare says, iPlayer just removed nearly every Wallace and Gromit film from their service and it ruined our day. Physical set ordered, but the 7-year-old is fucking furious. Yeah, as they should be.
Wow.
How would they do that?
That's terrible.
That's what happens when you don't own physical media.
It was the Penguin. The Penguin took them.
Yeah.
Feathers McGraw.
Feathers McGraw, yeah. Save the Cat also says, for context, I don't normally watch those kinds of movies. Yeah, sure, buddy. That would be the domain of my mother. Land Far Away says, Robert, please share some of your memories of the great John Schnepp, Collider Heroes, and Movie Trivia Schmodown. Those were the days.
I have so John Schnepp was the person who got me on YouTube back in 2015. And for those of you who don't know, he was an animator. He worked for Titmouse on things like Metalocalypse. He was a great creator. He was a comic book writer. He was just a really great uber nerd. And I was in New York, I want to say it was in 2005, with the girl I was dating at the time. And we were wandering around Times Square. And we walked into this raucous Russian bar, where a bar fight was just an outbreak. It was a brutal bar fight. And we're just in there. And then out of nowhere, there was John Schnepp. He wasn't fighting. He was just in this bar, in this random bar in New York, because he was working on a project in New York. Why was he there? I have no idea. The fact that we walked into a bar, the fact that we were in Times Square, I have no idea why this confluence of events happened. But the fact that he was there sums up everything about John Schnepp you need to know. He was just magic. He was just magic. And then we hung out for the rest of the time we were in New York. And that was wild, man. It was just, there he was, because he was a hulking guy. He was like 6'5", really big guy. And the one thing also about John Schnepp was he loved other people's creativity. If you had done a drawing, or you'd done a comic book, or you'd sculpted some kind of a kit or a figure, he loved it, man. He loved it. And it's been since 2018. I miss that guy every single day.
No, that's pretty cool way to have met him as well. I like that.
Yeah, he coined the phrase sweaties. He called nerds sweaties because whenever we were at conventions and we'd see each other, we were all sweating. Because we're carrying around our bags of whatever we bought, and it was
Admit it was the female cosplayers, okay?
It was that too.
What's this one? Iron Man was a B-list character no one cared about before 2008. Could Thunderbolts and Ironheart be the same treatment if the adaptations were good? They could have done, yeah. If they were really good adaptations, you told an amazing story, you made the characters super likable, you could turn any character into an A-lister. Of course you could. It's just their bad luck that the adaptations were absolute dog shit and no one cared about them. So, yeah. I really liked Fallout Season 2, but didn't love it. Yes, there were wasted narratives like Norm and the vault scenes, and the ending was lame, but House, Goggins, Lucy, and even the last bit of Maximus was very cool. I'd agree with about 50% of that. Goggins was great. House was pretty anemic compared to the game version. Lucy just had no real arc. Maximus had some cool moments, but he's a boring as fuck character because there's just nothing to him. Like, watching him fight in power armor is cool from a visual point of view, but it doesn't give me much about him in general. Expedition 33, quick thoughts now that MauLer beat it too. What lovely feat. Okay.
Yeah, what do you think, Drinker, I guess?
Well, see my review, MauLer.
No, they're asking you. I'm trying to prompt you.
You want me to just do it all again? I mean, overall, I really liked the game. I thought it was a very intriguing concept, very surreal, visually fantastic world that you're part of. I think the characters were really well drawn. They were like interesting. They were a group of people that I liked and I wanted to know more about. I would say towards the end, it gets a bit wavery from a narrative point of view because it introduces a whole other world of fantasy outside the one you're in, which it barely touches upon, which I wanted to know more about. But it does leave you with quite an interesting choice at the end, which I suppose I shouldn't ruin for anyone. But yeah, you do get different endings based on what you choose there. And I did like it. Overall, it's a game that left me with probably more questions than answers, but I was kind of okay with that.
It was very curious. They refer to the people they were in conflict with, the family of painters, as the writers. It's like, what does that mean? Like, you exactly. But hey, I've seen people say like maybe they'll cover that in a sequel. It's like,
yeah,
different world maybe.
Night of the Seven Kingdoms has been awesome. Absolutely, it has.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it continues being awesome. Hail boys, MauLer. I just finished season 1 of Fargate, and I can't believe the twist with Mr. Mo and Mr. Lester. I didn't think the show could pull it off.
Well, I appreciate the spoiler-free way they've done that, but yes, it's good shit.
Allegedly, Henry Cavill and co have finished scripting season 1, and he would be that last to leave the studio, looking at 4 a.m., going over lore, verbiage, and insignia mistakes. Big test for him. Yes, I did see that rumor. I don't know if it's true or not, but he seems like the kind of guy who would be super invested in all the lore and getting it 100% right. I do have a lot of concerns about that show. Particularly, it just seems to have been in development for about 10 years at this point. I don't know what's taken so long, but hey, hopefully it works out well. This is the Warhammer 40k show, just for anyone who was curious. I used a modem connected to the phone to get to the internet. Now I need a box connected to the internet to give my mom a phone line. The circle is complete.
That's a good one.
People who didn't grow up in the 90s do not know the pain of trying to connect to the fucking internet when it was dial-up, and then someone in your house happens to be using the phone, or you're just trying to get on at a busy time and you can't get a connection. You could tell by the noises that it made if it was going to connect or not.
Or waiting for a web page to load.
Yeah,
I did like in the intro that MauLer thought when phones were invented, it freaked everyone out. The mobile phone.
Yeah,
every technology freaks us all out. I remember fucking trying to watch Lost at like 360p and having to wait for like an hour for the episode to load. Like, come on, I got to see what happens next.
But that's okay because the monitor was probably 360p, so it was probably perfect.
Yeah, full screen,
nice.
baby.
Yeah. If you just sit really far away, it looks nice and smooth. What's your favorite video game that never got a movie? Should get one. Who would you want to star in it, and who would direct it? Cheers. Well, I think the one you've referenced quite a lot of times, MauLer, is BioShock, which I think is a fair shout.
But
that's actually in development at Netflix with Francis Lawrence supposedly directing.
There's been a perpetual production behind the scenes for BioShock since I want to say I remember finding out about 10 years ago. There was ideas. It's so movieable, that game.
Oh yeah,
But you got to get the right people to do it, otherwise it'll collapse. We could end up with a Fallout situation where they make a thing and everyone's like, "Whoa!" and it's kind of maybe soulless, and then a season 2 or something comes out, or another movie, and then it's just like, well, that's dead. Moving on.
The thing is as well, I think we could name pretty much any game, and there probably is some kind of development project for it at this point, because
there's one for Portal.
Well, it's the new Gold Rush, isn't it? To adapt video games into movies, because it's this huge untapped resource, and now we're proving that it can be done, and you can make money.
Well, they're looking for those built audiences, because they don't have to build their own.
It's just
they can just take the story and
they've got a built-in audience, built-in stories, and built-in worlds and lore. And so when you've got all of those things, well, they can ignore it, but or they can take bits of it. But the idea is they don't have to create something from scratch, so it's way easier for them.
If you have the right people and you launched with a proper BioShock movie that's adapting the game, you could then do a TV show of the rise and fall of Rapture, which would be fucking top tier if you nailed it.
Yep. Lads, you put more smiles on my faces than the chat could ever tell you. My question to you both: if you could write a Star Wars film, what would you cover and why? I wouldn't. I would instantly shoot myself. Or wait, I'd decanonize everything that Disney have made and then shoot myself.
I'd grab his gun and go, no, stop, no. We've got
Don't try stop me, MauLer.
I enjoy the question, the idea of do you just get away from every last shred of anything that's currently in the lore, go somewhere in the galaxy at different time, all that, or do you try your best to actually get stuck right in and start repairing as best as possible and give some respect back to the characters that have lost it?
I like the idea of doing the adventure aspect of it. Like I was talking to you earlier, take some kid from some random shitty planet, not a desert planet this time. I don't want another fucking Tatooine. But anyway, some planet, he gets an opportunity to escape from it. Yeah, sure. Let's do that. Let's do Icy Planet. But anyway, he has to go on some quest, do some stuff, meet some interesting people, get involved in a bigger adventure, take some steps out into this larger world, and gradually flesh it out from there.
But Drinker, isn't that what they did with the last Star Wars episode series with the kids?
That was okay.
Oh, he's almost
Skeleton Crew. Yeah, that was one of the few Star Wars projects Disney put out where I was like, that was okay. It wasn't amazing.
By everybody.
Yeah, no one watched it, but I thought it was okay. Next to Andor, it was probably the best TV show they've made.
Well, that's kind of funny, right? It's the kids show everyone ignored, and then Andor's the adult show everyone ignored.
Yeah.
Covering all bases.
Don't worry, we've got 10 more seasons of Ahsoka ahead of us, so I'm sure that'll be fine.
Dave Filoni, King. Gonna save us. Gonna save Star Wars, guys.
Sure. Watched Iron Lung 3 times. I guess I felt it was good. Well, you must indeed. Yeah. Great news. I'm starting a new job soon. This Spencer guy needs a dog watcher for his mansion in the local raccoon forest. It's a dream come true. Wish me luck. If you get any mentions of leaks in the lab or anything, just get the hell out of there as quickly as possible. If you start getting itchy and hungry, then you've got problems, buddy. Hi guys, I saw Iron Lung in RPX last night and I thought it was excellent. Super proud of Mark for the success of the film and cheesing it how mad it's making Hollywood and their friends. Yeah, you gotta love it, man. Good stuff.
You know there are bean counters how only 3 million? That's not fair.
How was this done? Yeah, the critical Griftly Bear, MauLer and Panel. My parents recently watched Rebel Moon and liked it. You need to get yourself some new parents, buddy. When I told them that Part 2 was nominated for a Razzie, they couldn't understand why. It doesn't.
Hopefully one day they'll find out they're adopted and they'll feel a lot better about that conversation.
But how widely spread is that? Do a lot of normies watch Rebel Moon and they just think, oh, it's got slow-mo action scenes, it's cool?
The record, that should not be forgotten. Rebel Moon Part 1 and 2 with the extended cuts, that he got given that amount of power, freedom, and creative control, and we ended up with some of the worst movies ever made. God damn, dude. Anyone would kill to have that opportunity with that budget.
ugly movies. Just oh my god,
I love
That's
this
painful.
one. I'm sitting in a Cafe Zen in Negombo in Sri Lanka, and what do I see on a bookshelf? Operation Blacklist by Will Jordan in German. Congrats, man. That's cool. You never know where my fucking books are going to turn up, honestly. That might be the most random place ever. Sri
And in
Lanka.
German.
Yeah, well, they were
In
all
Sri Lanka.
translated into German. I don't know why they ended up there, though, but yeah. Okay, cool. I like that. If only Iron Lung inspired more passion projects. Well, I think it will. That's the
Yeah.
thing.
I think it will. Yeah.
Mhm.
Not only, was it quite good, but like it made a shit ton of money as well. So that's definitely a
He's-
motivator for people.
He's in his mid-30s, right? So he's going to be moving now. He's going to be like, this next one. And he's probably going to be talking to a lot of people about, running multiple projects even.
Is Disney's Hercules a bad film? No.
No?
It's a good film. I liked it.
I did too.
MauLer's favorite line in Angel or Buffy?
It's the last line in the whole franchise. Let's go to work because of what it means. It's amazing.
Ooh. Yeah. Please make a video about Helen of Detroit. Also, Christopher Nolan is overrated. Do I want to get into that palaver? I'm just so tired of it, man.
I'll do it for you, Drinker. It's true. He is overrated. There we go.
Done.
Neatly dodged. Anyway, let's move on and not talk about that again. Reaper and Angry Badger, great follow-up debate. Would be interesting or would be really entertaining. I'm happy for independent filmmaking. Tempted to watch Iron Lung. You should. Yeah, so what? Are they on opposite sides of it? Does Angry Badger really like it? I know Reaper fucking hates Fallout, so I'm assuming Angry Badger
I think he
likes
hates it more than I do. So,
yeah. He's quite invested in the lore, though. He seems to be quite
that's probably why he
knowledgeable.
hates it more than me.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Yeah, Freakin slapped the shit out of the priest friend so he could be visibly shaking for the camera. Yes, Freakin is the director that we need nowadays. Yeah.
He'd get canceled.
Oh, yeah.
Studio, he'd be on the cover of Deadline, and people would be pillaring him all across the internet.
Could you imagine, though, if he came onto like the set of a Marvel movie or something where like it's the most safe, like non-confrontational environment imaginable, and he just slaps Scarlett Johansson across the face or something, and just like fucking act this scared in this scene. It's like, yeah, I can't imagine it. Can't imagine it. Oh wait, wrong. I missed one. If you're interested in a good time travel show, I recommend 12 Monkeys, the TV series. I never watched that. Yeah,
I
liked the
actually
movie.
enjoyed that. There were some ups and downs with the seasons, but I actually really liked it. It was different than I had expected, and I enjoyed that there was just some twists in there that were fun. Plus, all the actors did a great job. So I agree.
How does it compare
call.
to the movie? Like, is it better or worse?
I would have to say it felt totally different from the movie.
Okay.
Mhm.
And yeah, for a good AI series, watch Person of Interest.
Sorry,
did
that
not
is my
recommend-
favorite series of all time. I love Person of Interest.
If it is
One of
very
my favorites.
good, that one.
I'll do a couple more and then finish up. Derek says, according to people on Twitter, Helen being born in an egg means it's okay to piss all over Greek culture. Hate to say it, but I hope this movie bombs. P.S. Elliot Page will be Paris. You heard it here first. I mean, I will say, right, the casting for this movie is bonkers. I have a degree of faith in Christopher Nolan, but he's going to have to go some to pull all this together into a cohesive narrative, because I just do not see how it's meant to work. And yeah, I don't know. Is he due a flop? Could this be like his Waterloo? I don't know.
Flop is one thing. Do a bad movie is potentially more so the accurate statement.
Though,
for this.
I gotta say, I was dubious about Dunkirk. I thought he forced the studio into making this movie about this. Yes, admittedly, it's an interesting story, but I was blown away by that movie. I couldn't believe he made a World War II art film that ended up grossing $500 million. And I thought that wasn't going to work.
I could be wildly off kilter here, but I didn't love Dunkirk as a movie.
I can understand that. I
didn't
didn't
love
love
it
it either.
I didn't love the non-chronological storytelling. I didn't think it was necessary to a story like this. I didn't think the action scenes, like, they were certainly impressive, but like I've seen better, like Saving Private Ryan or whatever is like way better in terms of combat sequences than this. And so I just thought he just felt like the wrong guy to be directing a World War II movie like that. I don't know what he was hoping to get out of it, but yeah, I didn't love it. But it's not a terrible film by any stretch, for sure. What was the best decade for horror films in the US? This is a question for everyone, really. So
that's a rough question.
Well, there are such good ones just sprinkled throughout. I think it's hard.
The 70s gave us things like The Exorcist. That was like the more adult
Alien
horror. Alien. Rosemary's Baby was 70s as well.
That
wasn't
was
it?
That was 60s, 68.
Yeah.
Was it?
Then,
was it that old? What about The Omen?
Wicker Man was
Omens.
70s, right?
Wicker Man was 70s.
The Omens.
but then in the
70s,
90s, we got like The Crow and.
Well, I was going to say, like, the 80s was the decade of the slasher flick. That's like very much like, stabby and all that stuff, which is fine. The 90s was when you got like the satirical stuff, like Scream, that sort of thing, where it started to get self-referential. And I don't know, what would the 2000s even be like? The torture porn
That's
era?
the torture
like
porn era. So
yeah,
I don't like that era at all. It's
I think in terms of quality, it would probably be the 70s. Maybe in terms of just fun, it would be the 80s, though, for me.
So you're just ruling out the 2020s, huh? Wow.
What have we got there?
I mean, you got Phantasm. You got, the 70s.
We got Shelby Oaks in the 2020s.
Well, we got Weapons this
Dawn
year.
of the
We got
Dead.
some good things this
Jaws.
year. Oh, Jaws.
I would consider
70s
Jaws
is strong.
Yeah.
I think it's a fight between the 70s and the 80s.
I think so.
Carrie, Suspiria, Don't Look Now, Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
That was a good
The
one.
Abominable Dr. Phibes, Theater of Blood, Cronenberg's movies, The Brood, Rabid, and They Came From Within. Deep Red, if you're a Argento fan. Hills Have Eyes.
I think you've clinched it for the 70s right there.
I think we're done.
Yeah. It's conclusive. The 70s was the best decade for horror movies.
What was interesting though about different eras is horror has always represented the time in which in a way
in
they've
which it
always
takes place.
Yeah, they've reflected the situation. And in America in the 70s, you had the post-Vietnam era, and a lot of what we were watching men in body bags on our nightly news, and a lot has been written about. Beginning in the late 60s, like Night of the Living Dead and Texas Chainsaw were results of that. So the world, we haven't had to deal with a conflict where we saw Americans coming back on our nightly news dead the way we did because of the Vietnam War. So
yeah,
just as an aside.
And this one here, MauLer, how did you first discover the Marvel heroes?
It's like the Marvel universe in general.
I assume so, rather than the game, because there's like Marvel Heroes, the game, isn't there? So
would have been animated TV shows for sure. Though probably like super early, to the point where I can't even remember not knowing about them somewhat. And then video games, and then top trumps, and then just reading up on maybe a friend's comic book. But the remarkable thing is, I've really read like zero for comics in Marvel, and even though I'm very invested. Like I was really excited they were making an Iron Man film, and it's like, have you read a single Iron Man comic? I was like, no. It's a whole other world out there.
I was obsessed
with Ultimate Alliance. I played the shit out of that game. It's fucking excellent.
I don't think I'd even heard of Iron Man before I saw the movie. Like that was my complete lack of experience with like the Marvel comic book universe, and just outside of like the very well known ones, I was just ignorant of it. Yeah, my mom told me that she left the theater crying over that movie, and that must be The Exorcist. Yeah, don't blame her. Yeah, someone did an inflation calculation on this one. 441 million in 1973 is about 3.3 billion today, which would make it one of the most profitable movies of all time. Yeah, and I'm 56. I saw The Exorcist in cinema for the 30th anniversary, and I was disgusted by the younger viewers who kept laughing through the film. Jerks. Yeah, that's dickheads, really. You're always going to get that. That's why nobody goes to movie theaters anymore, sadly. Anyway,
Youths don't like emotions. They don't like feelings.
Well,
it's all up front. They've always got to be, a smart ass.
I think a film like that as well, yeah, like they're not going to buy into the religious themes of it, and they're probably just not going to get invested in the more mature stuff that it's exploring. They're just going to see the superficial, like the head spinning or the spider walk down the stairs or the crucifix scene, and it's just going to kind of come across as like really cheap to them and cheesy, but they're missing the point of the film. But
or how inventive that stuff was back then, you know?
Yeah, it's like actresses were getting paralyzed because of that, because of this goddamn movie. Birds were flying into fuse boxes and blowing the place up.
People slapped.
Sacrifices were made. Anyway, I'll probably finish up right there. But it's been awesome having you guys on tonight. Thank you for this. Honestly, I feel like we've had the most fun just talking about The Exorcist out of everything. And I'm here for it. But thank you everyone who also joined us and sent in your super chats. Appreciate you guys as always. The ones that we haven't done, we are going to answer as always on Last Orders. And I want to say as well, Robot Head, you have got a live stream coming out in a couple of hours. You're going to be
about an hour and a half over the Robot Head channel, the Trigger Warning Show. Please come over and join in where we will continue talking about a lot of this garbage we've been talking about today.
Yay!
Star Trek. Come over and join in.
So yeah, join Robot Head for that and give in a subscription if you haven't already. And the same goes for Robert and for Erin on our panel. If you're not subscribed to them already, please consider doing so. There you go.
But make sure to unsubscribe from me and Drinker, okay?
Yeah, you got to balance these things out. Give some subs to them. Take them away from us.
We can afford a few.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all we've got for today. So go away now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.